would you tell anything your younger self, like what you could have done differently, like as a competitive player? Why are you laughing? Okay, why are you laughing? I want to know first why you're laughing.
I mean, it's a tough question for sure. I'd say like you could always like do something better, and if I would really go back in time, I could tell my younger self, hey, start earlier, like in Battle 4, for example. I started quite late. If you want to compare to like someone like Vela, for example, like a bunch of like the older guys that came over like from Battle 3, I would have like wanted to start like in like 2013 basically, when the scene first started in Battle 4. That would have been like the best time to get into it. But simply like the best advice I could give me, try really hard in Battle 4 times, and then don't play the game at all, because it wasn't really worth it to play Battlefield for the last, let's say, like 5 years, because there simply weren't any competitions. And I was always the guy who believed basically in DICE and in Battlefield and the competitive Battlefield scene. I still do, to be fair, and I still think it can be like a great esports title, even Battlefield. But at the same time, so many other people quit, and looking back to it, I put a lot of time in that I'm not getting back anymore, and I'm not sure if it was really worth it.
You regret it in a way, right? Kind of, yeah,
I
when you
don't
say it that
regret.
way.
Yeah, I don't regret like the whole experience, but for example, the time I put into like playing Battle 4 versus back in the day, I must have played like over 1,000 hours. Even though it was like super fun, like playing with friends and like simply learning and improving.
Yeah,
right?
It's funny that you regret it.
I mean, like regret is like a strong word, but I really could have used the time in a different way.
Absolutely agree. I mean, I regret it too. Like this was my first. This also was where I was laughing like 5 minutes ago, because if I could speak to myself, what was it, 2011? I mean, basically when I started Battlefield 3, I would say, hey, just don't. You're gonna have some great times, but potentially you're going to invest a lot of time in a career that will ultimately not be the one you want. I think I needed it though. I think I needed to have all this attention to know, to prove to myself that I could be a correct player. But in the end, I think I would say to myself, just, play Conquest Large, but don't play infantry. It's going to go to your head, and you're going to end up on Battlefield 4 playing 8 hours a day and trying to do the Zuzu jump at every jump. So don't be that person.
Just please describe yourself with your own words, Craig. Who's Relaaa? Who's Vendcera? Like, how would you describe yourself with a few sentences? Maybe we start with you, Johannes.
I mean, I guess I'm like a competitive Battlefield player. That's what I'm like most known for. I've now joined EA like 1.5 years ago as a German community coordinator. But I guess like most people are most familiar with my name as like Johannes, not Vendcera, in like competitive Battlefield, like all throughout like Battlefield 4, Hardline, Battle 1, Incursions, and even like a little bit of Battlefield 5. So yeah.
You're working now for EA, I think, right? As a German community coordinator, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But you're working for all kinds of games and titles, right? Not like Battlefield, not really, right? It's more like FIFA.
I mean, yeah, I mean Battlefield, of course, too. But so like Apex, for example, or FIFA, it is like an EA position and not at the EA DICE specifically.
Can you tell us quick how your work looks like? Like how do you work with the community there together? How do you help them?
I'm basically like responsible as like the German community coordinator for like, of course, like Germany, Austria, Switzerland, like the German-speaking countries. It's about like the forum, for example, supporting people through that, like giving announcements, for example, if like any new updates are coming out, and like maintenance, for example, any like server issues, that kind of stuff. And yeah, just like community work. It can be pretty much all kinds of stuff. So for example, I was like moderating the EA Play live streams just recently too.
Oh, nice. Nice. That sounds super interesting. Relaaa, you're doing something completely different for your work, right? I think I read something like you're a UX, you're working like a UX designer. How do you call that? Like a administrator in a robotics company or something, right?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that this information is on the internet.
Well, you said it.
Yeah, I should watch what I'm saying.
Researcher, right? It was UX researcher, I think,
Yeah,
in a company
yeah.
which builds human robots, right?
Robotics. Yeah, basically I was, after my internship at DICE, where I was in UXR too, I wasn't hired. And I found an opportunity in France to do basically the same thing, the same job, but applied to the way people interact with robots, in which case it's humanoid robots. And I also started in the same company, a PhD at the same time. So I'm basically doing the two at the same time, which is quite time consuming. But well, it's an interesting job. And indeed, there is no connection with what Johannes is doing.
It sounds super interesting, to be honest. Like, I mean, me personally, I'm a science fiction fan, so I thought, like, this is interesting. I've never guessed that you're doing that now, you know? Like, I thought you were totally working in the gaming industry, and when I read that, you know, I was like, I need to ask that again. And you said it's a long story, how you got there. So this didn't sound like a long story. What's the long story about?
Long story about how I got in robotics company?
Yeah, I just need to ask because I'm curious.
Well, so that's it started when I got back from Sweden. So I had my internship at DICE, which was absolutely great. They gave me great working conditions, and I was told that I may be hired. Basically, I had a few people at DICE who wanted me back, and I think that at the same time, HR was not especially fond of hiring people. I think a few people are actually getting fired in EA at the same time, like quite a few hundred people. I'm not sure it's connected with me not being hired. Maybe I was not the right profile, but it's possible that, well, it was not the right context. Okay. Anyway, at the end, I ended up not being hired, which is perfectly fine. And I wanted to do a PhD on like video games, like on a very specific topic, which will be a whole story by itself. And the issue with doing a PhD about video games is that you don't get fundings usually. It's interesting, but you don't have money. And I had a friend of mine who told me, hey, if you want, you can try in UX research a mission in our company, which is a good company for robotics. So I say, hey, okay, let's try. And I ended up really enjoying working on robots, which are very different from working on how people interact with video games, but there are some connections. And then I thought, oh yeah, maybe there's an opportunity to do my PhD on this topic and to have some money at the same time. So yeah, that was the way I found to survive and to do a PhD.
Sounds like you're happy with that job you found by accident, more or less, right?
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, I'm fond of not struggling for money, and I'm also really fond of the job for many reasons.
Nice. How did you guys both get, or maybe we start with the gaming, like when did you both start gaming? What age?
5, actually.
With 5? What was the first game you played?
The Settlers. It's like Die Siedler in German. It's like some German.
Yeah. It's a
game.
top. Okay, I know what it is. Yeah. I never played it. I played something similar, but I can't remember the name again.
Yeah, a long time ago, but through my father, of course, and PC gamer through and through.
How about you, Damien?
Yeah, it was. So my dad bought a computer when I was 2, but I'm not sure I was already playing because I don't have any memories. But 4, I'm sure, because I have videos of me at 4 years old. I was moving the mouse very slowly. It's terrible to see.
I saw one video of you posted. Your dad recorded.
This one,
That's funny.
And I think, parents usually, I mean, in my case, my parents bought me the computer because I was calm. So they were not annoyed by me anymore, which is how I started playing video games, sadly.
That's funny. What was the first Battlefield then you started playing? I mean, you started very early. You probably got, well, what do you play? Like 1942 or what was the... Yeah, 1942. Well, what did you start with? What was your first title?
I actually started with like Battlefield 1942, yeah. I was 10 years old. That was my first person shooter, actually, at my best friend's brother's LAN. So he just had a couple of computers over there and invited us to play because I didn't have enough players. And I still remember like how I was utterly stunned by Battlefield 1942 at the time. You know, like the graphics I thought looked so amazing, so real. And like now looking back, of course, like 20 years later, pretty much, it is absolutely like insane what I thought was good graphics at the time compared to nowadays. But
Wow. What about you, Damien? What was your first Battlefield?
My first Battlefield was Battlefield 3. I am not, well, Johannes can look down on me about that. Because I was really, so
my first Battlefield was Battlefield 3. I thought like I'm the only person who started so late.
Most of the people I know were...
Damn, you make me feel better.
So it was a gift in 2011 from my girlfriend at the time, who did a terrible mistake because she was like, hey, maybe you should relax a bit. So she bought me the best game at the time. And that was obviously the best way to make me play 8 hours per day.
How did you guys meet then? What was through Battlefield 3 probably, because that was your first game as well, or?
No, I gotta be fair. Like I played Battlefield 1942 and even like some like Battlefield 2, for example. Vietnam, for example, I like to play Vietnam and fly around in the chat actually, but it was not very good at all. I was just like a kid and playing it for fun, not much at all. And I actually like switched to Counter-Strike later on. So I first like started playing Battlefield, you could say like serious or like on a more competitive level in Battlefield 4. And that's when we both actually met too in just competitions as opposed.
Okay. So you were in different teams at the beginning or?
Yeah.
And when did you wait? Dupree was on Battlefield 1, right?
Yeah, Incursions.
Incursions. So
that was in 2017.
And you met through Battlefield 4? That was like, when was like
in 2014 basically. 14? Like I started like playing competitively like towards the let's say like summer basically of 2014. And Vela was already like playing, I mean, I guess he can tell the story best, but he was already playing at the time for quite some time.
All right, so give me your story, guys. What's your perspective there? How did you meet then? Come on.
Johannes, go on if you wish. I will give my side afterwards.
Right. So yeah, like through Battle 4 competitions, the first time was, I don't know, like probably like just like some online Go for something back in the day. Like when Vela was playing in Infamous as opposed, and I just like started up in some kind of like lower level teams, probably something like YDK or I don't even know when exactly like was the first match we played, but around that time must be like towards like the summer or like fall of 2014.
2014. Okay.
Yeah.
Damien, you're so quiet.
Because I have no memories of meeting Johannes in 2014. What I remember clearly is the Gamescom 2015, where we played together. And I already knew you back then, so we must have spoken online way before. But yeah, in 2014, I really don't have any memories of you especially, but at the same time, you know, we were so many people.
He can't remember you.
Yeah, this is
yeah, I mean,
this is humiliating.
The community was quite big at the time, so
yeah,
of course.
Exactly, huge community, so very lot of names, lot of German names. So
lots of German dudes, man. Strange names, you can't remember them all. That's true. That's true. I mean, you're in Germany, Gamescom. Lots of German
in Gamescom,
people.
I remember Johannes because we were using the Zuzu jump, and I think Johannes told me, "Hey, you should really stop doing that or something."
Exactly, yeah.
I was a horrible person at the time, so I was really using your team to go as far as I could with the Zuzu jump, and well, jokes on me.
I remember.
We got like really destroyed with the next match. So in the end, you were right. I should have stopped doing that. And I remember precisely you telling me that after the match.
Yeah, like even before, and you know, like we actually figured out the Zuzu jump ourselves, like before we actually went to LAN, and like we purposely decided not to use it.
Really?
There was some, like Nova, I believe, like wanted to use it and still did a little bit back in the day, but he wasn't allowed to play at LAN. He was too young at the time. But all the rest of us, like we decided, it's not worth it to like abuse a bug like that. But then we got pretty much farmed by Vela on LAN. Yeah, I remember Sabot, nice 1v4 with a G18 or something. I still get PTSD from that time.
Yeah. So it was like a moral decision from you, not because you thought it wasn't optimal to use this as a jump.
Yeah, I mean, I still stand by that. I feel like it's like a bug in the game, and by abusing it in that sense, it is against the rules technically. All competitions basically have like specific rules of like no bug using, no glitch using, and like personally, I felt pretty strongly about that. And to this day, I'm not using it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How is it with like head glitches and stuff like that? Like, is it a big problem, or was it a big problem that time, like in Battlefield 4? Like in general, using like things that would be in your advantage, but it's not really fair, stuff like that.
I mean, that's part of the game. But actually, at the very beginning, towards when did they patch it? I believe like in 2015, they had an update before like your bullets actually came out of like your eyes, basically. So that way you could really like head glitch over like the most annoying angles. But in a patch, I believe like towards like the end of 2014, 2015 maybe, they changed it that your bullets would actually come out of like your gun. So they eliminated like a bunch of head glitches that way and balanced the game, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Battlefield 3, we had this, that head glitches were normal. This was something that you will try to abuse as much as you can, as you could. Especially if, like, we had paper stacks, like big texture with a lot of papers. And when you were standing behind them, you could see only like the very top of the guy's helmet. So they were already part of the game. And on Battlefield 4, yeah, because of this patch, we lost that notion of head glitch, which was a good thing in many ways. But in general, I think the notion of abusing glitches is always there with competitive video games, because we are always on the edge of what's, you know, in the rules and of what's not really in the spirit of the game or of the competition, but that's acceptable. And there is always this thin line between, you know, what's possible to do and what's completely against the rules. And players are always playing in this general area. Which is why you have a few conflicts, because sometimes things are in the rules, but they are just not in the spirit of the game. I have a few examples if you want, but I don't, like, it's been a lot of time. So, well, you have a few examples. The Fanatics, they had at one point found a way to go at the top of a building, I think, on the on Dawnbreaker.
On Dawnbreaker, yeah. They cut a tree down basically. They're able to like jump on the tree and got like on an area that was otherwise like inaccessible to players.
Yeah, which was genius. Like, honestly, that was when I was in like when I saw that, I was like, wow. I mean, we tried to do the same, we failed. So somehow they are smarter than we are, but at the same time, this was not precisely in the rules. And this is one of these cases where you're like, okay, what should we do? What I guess the admins have to take a decision, because that's the player's job to be as efficient as possible. And there are some gray zones. And that's,
I mean, this is why you have so many rules these days also, like, don't use this or that, right? I mean, like, rules with, especially like this, you know, don't jump on a building, don't use these or these spots. Is this like annoying for you as players, or do you say, no, it's necessary because the game doesn't give us a chance?
I mean, on one side, of course, I completely agree. Especially like when you're playing on the highest level, you try to get every advantage you can get. And if teams and players are smart enough to figure out like certain tricks or certain ways they can like use the maps or like certain stuff to their advantage, hey, go for it. I mean, it's still a competition after all, and the win is what counts. But of course, like the rules are rules for a reason, to make the competitions fair and balanced for everyone. So to bring up like back to like Fnatic, to realize example about Fnatic, the admins actually went back right afterward and put it in the rules that you are not allowed to access that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very complicated to foresee all the possible things that you have to take into account when you're making the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess you discover step by step how the game can be abused at the same time as the players very often.
I'm thinking right now how to not. I have so many questions right now about comp, but I want to actually talk about it a little bit later. And I'm thinking right now if you should jump in right there now, just see where we're going. Okay, let's just maybe stay with comp, and then we try to pick up the story and history maybe on the way. Where do we start though? Maybe let's start talking about the right mindset. Do you think, did you guys work over the time? Did you think about even like what's the right kind of mindset you need to be a great comp player? Did you ever think about that? Was it ever important for you?
If you want to go first, Damien.
Well, there is thinking about it and there is applying it. I think we all had a general idea of what's an effective mindset, but applying it takes professionalism, which in my team we didn't have enough to really apply the mindset. So I would say a good mindset to professional player is to see on the long run, which is that if you fail a few matches, that's all right. You have a random factor also. You have to take into account that you can't win all the time, and you have to try to maximize your performance, even if sometimes you have bad matches. You don't have to have a fight with your teammates every time something goes wrong. We didn't do that. And as another element, I think, which is very important, is to accept that you're not here only to have fun, and that you may not, do something because it's more effective not to do it. And that's something that when you're in the action, when you have, let's say, we know that if I know that there are two guys below me, and I can just jump on them and make a nice 1 versus 2 frag movie action, I should not do it, obviously, because that's like the worst possible move. And I think in French teams at the time, and maybe because we were not very professional people, we tended to let ourselves go to nice actions. We wanted to have adrenaline. We wanted fame, basically, more than efficiency. And that's why many of our fights were so chaotic. So that's, I think, a good mindset. Maybe, Johannes, you have something better.
I mean, I definitely agree with you, and I think that comes from the reason that even though like we played at the highest level of Battlefield, maybe compared to like other esports titles, the mindset's basically in the professionality is on a completely different level. Got to be honest, and the people that are playing there for like millions of prize money, they really have to practice stuff like their mindset and their mentality so much more, and really have to put emphasis on even like the little things to stay on top, because it all makes a difference. The right mindset can go from everything, from like showing up to practice, for example, to like not necessarily like raging at your teammates, like trying to work out problems, but not only like focusing on stuff that went wrong, but also focusing on stuff that went right and adjusting to take things away from that and going into the next match, basically, and focusing that. But yeah, of course, also like what you said, playing in competition, it's not really like about fun necessarily, it's about winning. And that mindset is alone the real like competitive mindset. I'd say that's what you basically need as like a competitive player. If you ever want to make it, you can't just like play for fun and you don't really care about losing. No, you really have to be there to win.
When you talk about losing, would you say, like, in retrospective, every loss you have is also a gift because you learned something from it?
In the best situations, I guess you learn something from it. In most of many situations we like, no, I think sometimes you just really lose. Like there is nothing to, like, all the mistakes are already known. You just can't manage to apply what you already know. This is the worst kind of defeats. It's when you basically see that you're doing the same mistakes over and over again, and it seems like no matter how much you try to apply the theory, like the plan, you always fail to when you are in the action, you always fail to somehow do what you said you will do. And so sometimes, no, there is nothing to learn. But of course, most of the time, you just have to watch the replay. And if you have one, you will learn so many things. It's less true on Battlefield because we didn't have replays like you can have on CSGO. So it's less easy to micro-analyze all the positions of the guys in front of you. So you have less tools to really learn from whatever happened on the map you are playing. But on CSGO, obviously, League of Legends, they have all these tools, very, very, very high-level tools where they can just verbalize everything that has happened during the game.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because games like those have like a demo system where you can look through and see like all the perspectives from all players at the same time. While when you like try to find mistakes in Battlefield, you can only rely on your own footage if you record it, and like of your teammates basically, and like try to analyze and think about, okay, like what went wrong in that exact moment and how we can do better. But in the end, like practice makes perfect. And the more you play, the more you try to improve on this kind of stuff, the more it will happen. Like every single time I'm looking back to like some of my old like footage, some of my old like gameplay, I can instantly see like so many mistakes that I did not even realize I did back in the day. It's not that easy to figure out.
All right. IG Media says many competitions are decided by who made the most mistakes. The winner is the team that makes the fewest. Yeah, well, that's kind of true, right? What do you say,
for
guys?
sure.
At high level, I guess. Yeah. If you have a very healthy competitive scene, almost everyone is at the same level. Like the gap between the players, whether it's about skill or about preparation, is very low. So in this situation, it's about doing less mistakes. On less healthy competitive scenes that I've seen, and I think Battlefield 4 at one point was in this case, sometimes the team who win is the team with the best aimers, or anything, because you don't have this I mean, you have a huge gap between teams.
Yeah, like the highest level of competition, like the higher you go, the more it is depending on like the mistake space you can make versus the other team. But in like other kind of types, when you like play as like a favorite versus let's say like mid-level team, just like your aim alone can win gunfights. But the higher up you go in the competitions, it all doesn't really matter, because everyone is going to have like great aim. That goes for like all first-person shooters, for example. Like even like in CSGO, people are saying like certain players are not really known for their aim, while in reality they're all like already on such a high level that the small mistakes play a much bigger role of winning or losing.
Yeah, consistency, I would say, is key at very high level. It's like if I had to choose between people who are explosive players, who can do an insane 1v4 once in a match, and people who can't do that 1v4, but who are able to consistently do 1v1 or win their 1v2, I think definitely the best player, the safest player to have in my team will be the one who is consistent, because you can rely on that guy on the long run. And consistency, I think, is the hardest thing to keep when you are playing against people who are, good as you are, or even better than you are.
Yeah, exactly. There will always be times when like you're on the bottom of the scoreboard, or like you might not be the best, but to basically figure out a base level where you never drop below is really important. So basically you don't lose your team the game every once in a while, even though you might win them. Like, I don't know, like out of like 5 games, you might win 1 game, but the other 2, for example, the reason why your team lost might be because like you're underperforming, and that kind of consistency level is also like super important to stay on that level.
That's very interesting. I was just thinking about, Damien, I was just thinking about the video you made about how regular players can learn from beginners. And I think that also shows a little bit how humble you are and how eager you are to learn for everywhere you can in these situations. Is that true? Like, I mean, why did you make a whole video about it? How to look on, regular games to learn from new players and beginners.
Yeah.
Why is it important for you?
Well, the base idea of this video was that if you watch beginners, they will have behaviors that are not expected by players who are very familiar with a game, because they don't have in their mind already a pre-existing model of the game. So they will just run in a straight line when no one does that anymore after a few hours. And well, I was trying to find examples of legitimate professional players who said that they were indeed trying to that they were indeed inspired by beginners. I don't know exactly if there is a term for that, but there is the situation where you brain someone, where we are smarter than the person. But there is also a lot of situations where you do something that's so apparently stupid that your opponents are going to be very, very surprised that you even did that. And when you watch, I don't know, like CS:GO, for example.
Yeah, there was this good video. I wish I have it here. I'm sorry, so guys, I should have brought it actually. When I think about it now, you know, was the guy who took out the handgun and then right the example you had in your video.
Stewie 2K, I believe, on this too. A side, right?
Yeah, that's him exactly.
That was so good. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, and I think it's I don't exactly know about other sports, but in video games you're also playing, of course, the players, like in poker. So some moves may be the same as beginners from professional players, but they are doing them with a very different understanding of the situation. Basically, I was watching Vitality versus I think it's Navi, which are maybe still playing currently on CS:GO, and at one point Apex just went in a straight line through a smoke and killed someone who wasn't prepared for him. And typically the guy was not expecting Apex to do something that's completely against the meta. You don't just go through smokes literally running without even trying to cover his sound. And that worked. And that worked, and because Apex had he was thinking third degree. You know that the guy knew that he knew that he knew, and you end up having these weird moves from professional players which look dumb, but are actually smarter than the smart moves. If you see what I mean.
Reverse psychology, bloody sad. Inverted psychology, bloody sad. Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go.
I mean, you have to throw in some dumb stuff every once in a while, especially like on such a high level where everyone already has like all these like protocols and knows what to expect. Okay, the players are gonna do this and that, and if you do something completely different, it's gonna throw them off, of course. And that is like why you can always learn from anyone, no matter what level they're playing on. It could be like a completely beginner, and maybe he's gonna do something that might be really like a dumb play, but because other people are simply not used to it, then they have like a completely different perspective on their own game. Mm-hmm. It might work.
Do you have a story of your own to share here? Do you have a story of your own to share here about you win a match, maybe even in the ESL League, by doing something like that?
Go on, Johannes. I always do dumb stuff when I'm playing, so it's not unusual for me.
Because you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's like one specific example. I'm not sure there's really that much to learn from like lower level players on Battlefield specifically, because when you're playing public yourself and like you raise up like true playing public, you have like a similar experience, like playing from the same perspective basically. So it's not that easy. I think like CS:GO is a lot easier because like people like really like try to figure out like certain like new ways to play, and to like certain like really like small tricks. But yeah, I think what it comes down to in the end is what the other enemy team expects to do. And once you have like the experience that goes of course like hand in hand, like the game sense of like how the other team will play, you can also do like dumb plays basically, like same Battlefield. You can like run like straight like through smoke or something, just like completely disregard people and like flank them around because you are expecting them not to be there because they're too busy on another side of the map or something like that.
All right. Johannes, you told me now pre-talk Debris was the best team that time, right? Why and how?
That was in Battle 1 incursions.
Why and how? Why were you better than? And I'm not talking about because we won the most matches. Like, how did you know? Why do you think you were better than the others? Why did you think you could win all these matches?
I mean, first of all, like the pieces are important, and that are like the players that you basically build your team with. And what we did back then was like Aduzi and I, for example. Like Aduzi was known as like one of the best tankers, or like in Battle 4 previously. And when he came into like Battle 1 incursions, we knew each other like through playing some mixes. So we knew we were like both like really good in our certain like worlds, and we decided to build a team. And we were looking for like other like-minded players that could perform on the same kind of level, that have the same like kind of chemistry. So it's really important to pick up players that you're like comfortable with playing at, like in terms of like chemistry, but they are also like on the highest level that you can possibly get. and especially like in a game like Battlefield that is maybe like not highly developed compared to like the top esports titles, simply having players with the most skill on your lineup and the best players in their current roles is like super important. But beyond that, what every single team can focus on, no matter what their skill level is literally like the team play and the communication. I think like those will be like the two key points. Mentality and stuff like that, mindsets, it's all important. But in the end of the day, you really need to know how you can play together with your team and like utilize your resources like the most efficient way and play off each other. Like Incursions, for example, was very specific because we had a tank in the game in a 5v5 game mode. And it was basically all around of like countering the other tank or like supporting your own tank.
Yeah, I think we were maybe the only team to embrace the tank as a gift and not as something.
Curse,
yeah, as a curse. Yeah.
Anything else to add there, Damien, from your end?
No, Ioannis was the leader in game. I was just focusing on killing people, and I like the less mental load I have, the better when I'm playing these days because I'm older than before. So I was leaving Ioannis with all the theory, and I was just focusing on doing what he told and killing people.
Yeah, Johannes, you're also the team leader Germany, right?
Yeah, like exactly. Team captain of Team Germany too. And yeah, like team leading and in-game leading is a hugely important job to basically like put the players' focus of like your own players' focus on just killing people, like focusing on their own game, while just like one guy is making the decision making, the strategy, basically how to counter that, how you want to approach like certain situations in the game. And if you trust your team captain, like your in-game leader, and just like follow through whatever he's saying, then you're all like on the same page. And you can focus on your own game while the in-game leader basically has the in-game leader has the basically game plan in his mind, and that's quite a big part of the game too.
Yeah.
How often did you guys train together, like during the week? I mean, you have to get this chemistry going, right? So you need to play like as often as possible together, right? Before matches, or how often did you play together? Like daily? 3 times a week?
As often as we could, basically. It's always like, hey, you want a PCV? It's
yeah, that was the recurring joke. We just say Johannes just say PCV in the Discord, and we say that. I think we played daily, if I remember correctly. I mean, I think maybe the elephant in the room is that it was not a professional scene in the strong term, in the strong sense of the term. We played against people who are just trying to see if that was a potential scene on which they would develop and maybe earn money one day. But we were not at any point playing against people who would spend their lives on the maps theorizing and trying to find the best way to win. It was
but also you didn't have the chance with Incursions, really. I mean,
that's what we were hoping for, but no, we didn't have the chance. But like there is a big difference between, for example, if you watch what players were doing on Overwatch at the very beginning of Overwatch, like the professional players on this game at the very beginning, since there was so much to grind, so many things to discover, we were playing between, I mean, the guys I knew who succeeded, they were like not just playing, but actually playing as a team between like 6 to 10 hours a day. Like they were, just being on maps, testing stuff, finding new meta. They were doing that for like 6 to 10 hours, which is more than what someone would do on Battlefield 4 or has ever done on Battlefield 4, I think.
It's about like how serious you take it, basically. And we Incursions, for example, took it very serious because we also like believe that there's gonna be a scene, we're gonna get picked up by an organization, and there's gonna be big LAN tournaments. We really believe that EA and DICE are gonna support this game. I mean, they're building it specifically on purpose, this like specific competitive scene from the ground up, which has never happened before in the whole history of Battlefield, putting so much resources into it. So we were pretty sure there's going to be something coming out of it. In the end, unfortunately, it failed. There are multiple reasons for it. And yet it's quite a difference to how serious you basically take the games and how you want to approach it. And of course, not everyone is going to have the time to put in like mad hours and practice. But especially like also like the Overwatch guys, they knew this was like a game they really liked. they knew they could be the best if they focus on putting the time in at the current moment while no one else was, to instantly get a head start, and that paid off for quite a lot of them.
Yeah, that paid off for some of them.
Some of them, yeah.
It's like, it's like as in many sports, you see the one person who did it, but you don't see the 99% who, well, don't have money and who spent a lot of time, but who didn't manage to do it. And I know some of them, so, well, it wasn't always a beautiful story, sadly.
Yeah, of course, but you could still say the players basically that played in the first couple of seasons were, at least like other teams were playing in the beta beforehand and got like a huge advantage through like all that experience. And it took quite some time for like new upcomers to gain an advantage and eventually like push these other guys out.
Yeah.
When were the whole ESL thing? When you got the championship? When you did win the? When was that again?
Are you talking about the ESL one?
Yeah.
It's not 2004. It was basically
15?
from 2013 to 2015.
I was on the wrong
yeah, I think the support ended precisely after December 2015. Then
15.
Yeah, that's the last time we had ESL 1 and the last time we had a big 5 versus 5 competitive scene, at least.
Yep.
And well, I don't know if you want to speak about it at one point, but this was also the right opportunity to really build a big competitive scene with everything that had been done in terms of player pool and viewer pool. And this was, I think, the moment someone somewhere fucked up, because this person didn't invest in Battlefield 4 when it was the final.
Right time.
Yeah, the right time.
Wasn't that the time? When was the Witcher Branson story again? Was the 1
was
million?
Way earlier. That was in 2011, maybe 2012 in Battle 3.
Battlefield 3?
Like way before Battle 4, at least. It was that $1.6 million tournament announcement for, I believe, like even like PlayStation or Xbox. Yeah, like I'm not sure like which year exactly. It must be like around like 2011, I believe. And like some teams, like especially like basically like the Battle 4 fanatic, Epsilon back in the day, even switched to controller and tried to practice for that, and then it got all cancelled.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, they had a website and everything, and then they took it down, right? Yeah, it's. I mean, well, did Battlefield ever had a chance? Really? I mean, what was missing there? What was missing there? Like, if you want to, everything you have seen over the years and what you have learned, if you now would have to look forward to Battlefield 2042, and we know Portal is coming, for example, right? We don't know if a spectator mode is coming yet, but let's say it will be there. Do you think the competitive scene would have a chance again? I mean, all the old competitive players moved on, I guess, or most of them. Is that a problem?
I think that's a big issue. So if you compare the current situation to the 2015 situation, where when basically the support ended for the last time, currently, well, all the people I know, of course, moved on to something else. Johannes is currently working at DICE. Many people have a real job, or many of them are very recognized players on Rainbow Six currently, especially the Brazilian players who were, well, obviously among the best players on Battlefield 4. They, many of them, an impressive number of them, did it, are currently famous players on Rainbow Six and have been for a long time. I think the best Rainbow Six player currently is Brazilian. It's not me saying that. It's just and he was a Battlefield 4 player at the Nesk, exactly. So we had quality people at the time, like real professional players with a real professional ethic, who moved on. And of course, we still have quality people on Battlefield in general, but just like the numbers are just so low. It's like 5% of what we had before. Even if they are new players, they are just much less numerous than what was it, 6 years ago? So of course that's a big problem, because you need even more time, even if the game is right, and even if there is financial support to build a new player base of people who are willing to invest a lot of time in competition. And also the viewer pool is mostly gone. Also, like all the people who started to be interested in Battlefield 4 infantry meta, on my side at least, that's who I was speaking with, are mostly interested in other games now, or not there anymore. And that also takes a long time. And in 2015, this audience was growing. I think we had 30K viewers for the last, which was of course not insane, but for the time it was pretty all right. We were starting to, to burst the bubble and to become a legitimate esports, which is very hard to do. And when it happens, you should really invest on it, because many games tried and you don't have full control on how your game will work. And so, yeah, I think the situation is pretty dire in terms of esports on Battlefield currently. It will take years to build a healthy scene.
What would it take?
Money, of course, to bring maybe people who are more like mercenaries at the start, who just want the money, which was
investors. Okay.
I was speaking about like more players who want the money. Like a lot of the Battlefield 4 players were actually interested in the money at the very start. At the very, very, very start, during the first season, I think we didn't enjoy playing the game because it was buggy, because it didn't fit what we were used to on Battlefield 3. But I have to admit that having money was an important parameter in building a community afterwards, when the game got better and better. And you will obviously need everything you had on Battlefield 4 at the very end, which was interesting mechanics, mechanics which allow to have a skilled gameplay, impressive stream highlights stuff, and a good game mode, I guess. I mean, the list could go on, but that's what I have in mind right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the base game basically itself, like that is still the most important. If the game is not competitively, or there are not enough mechanics that promote like high level players, and basically like a difference between lower skilled players and like higher skilled players, then it will be very hard to build something competitive. But at the end of the day, everyone can build a competitive shooter if you put the right money, of course, into it. Like that is one variety of it, or you build it organically through like a lot of years, like smaller tournaments, building a scene, stuff like that. So for Battlefield right now, we've already done that basically back in like 2015 around the time, where
we don't even have the option for platoons right now, right?
For Battlefield 2042, that's not confirmed yet.
It's not
if there will be platoons or not. But yeah, like not only platoons, but simply tournaments itself will be like a huge part of like building anything up at all. And to have tournaments and competitions, there need to be people who organize that kind of stuff, and to bring people into like these competitions and tournaments and try to improve their own gameplay, try to get better and better, and simply like improve themselves as a player. You need either like the money to bring attention to these tournaments, or like support from DICE developers specifically themselves. So it's very difficult to get either one of them, and depends what direction they want to go with and how much support there will be, like from the community side of things. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be, I mean, at least I know of like 5 organizations, like tournament organizations that want to, organizers that want to promote and host tournaments at the start of like Battlefield 2042. And maybe something can grow out of it. And if like DICE, for example, promotes it, and there's going to be like a LAN tournament, it's going to bring people back for sure. And new players will also join the scene. It just depends.
I mean, that's the thing I was thinking about when like everyone is saying like, yeah, well, but the old players are gone, everyone moved on to other games. And I'm thinking like, yeah, but I mean, it's not like there couldn't be coming new players, It's not like we are all depending on the old players. If this game, if Battlefield 2042 would have the tools and would get the support. I mean, we need something official from DICE or EA as well, I guess, to make it work, right?
I mean, the difference nowadays is with Portal that we can build our own game modes. We can finally have like the tools in our own hands to build a competitive game mode that would make sense. And we as players could really like support and not be like dependent on playing something like Domination, which is not designed for something competitive at all. Well, the tools are there. It just like depends really, like the interest basically from all sides, like even viewers, for example. But to get players into it, as also like new players, you need the kind of attention on it. and like you either need to promote it in the right way, or of course you need money for it to put a spotlight on it.
Yeah, I didn't want to give the impression that I was focusing on all players. I'm just saying they are out of the equation now.
No, absolutely. I heard that a lot before. That's all. That's everything I said. Not only because you said it. Actually, I heard it a lot. Like people said, like, yeah, well, but you know, all the old players, so many players moved on, and I mean, we had that before as well, Johannes. We talked about like the problem of, I think you said the term turnover, right? Like when a new Battlefield title comes out, and then you have the turnover from the first title to the next title, right? And right now, I think we definitely had the issue of Battlefield 5 not being as successful, so we have a loss basically in the turnover to the next game. But maybe not, because we have a big hype right now. So it all really depends on what they will do now. We don't even have a date for the beta yet, so I guess we have to wait. We have not enough information about what we will get, right? By the way, did we miss some questions in the chat? Let us scroll up quick. What do we hear? Love Wheeler is in here. I think he is a fan for you. Only HFA said, in his opinion, my opinion, dev support has to at least include the basics like spectator mode, configuring servers, and a good mode or mod tools. That's also the thing. I mean, you need a competitive mode, right?
Exactly, like that is the baseline. What Only said is of course like completely correct. The baseline and the base game needs to be on like a proper competitive game to have a platform to develop from. That includes, of course, like a spectator mode is good. Very, very important to have. Like Battlefield 3, like try to go around it, but it is not as great as like having like a built-in spectator mode that you can like easily like stream matches and cast them. It's super important. Servers, we're gonna have them with Portal. That's already confirmed. A good mode, we can basically try to build it themselves. Mod tools, you can adjust the game modes in specific ways, but what, for example, you cannot do is adjust the map design itself. That is like the limitation of it.
And I mean, that is a big thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you need a mode, and you need consensus on what the mode is. Maybe one of the issue we have with Battlefield more than other games is that potentially anything can be the legitimate official competitive mode. And it's often, like, I don't know how it will work when it's to the players, maybe, or to the organizers to decide this is the competitive game mode. Like if you go on other games, usually it's there is an authority above the devs who say, hey, this is the official game mode of, I don't know, Valorant, CSGO, Call of Duty. And in our case, we may have struggles. So we may struggle to reach a situation where almost everyone is okay with playing this specific game mode. And I'm afraid we will be split in different communities, which was also the case on Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3. And that will really weaken the potential esport scene.
Exactly. Like even like in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 back in the day, you always had these like fights between the communities of like 5v5 versus 8 versus 8, where the player pools from both sides, they are kind of like competing against each other and like saying, hey, like we are like the official game mode, or like we are the main competitive Battlefield mode. And right now for the future, it's going to be even more dangerous because there's going to be so many options to build like so many different modes that you could really like split the competitive community to a lot of different modes, and that will instantly kill it itself. So one of the very, very important things to do, like once the game actually comes out, to decide on like a proper game mode as soon as possible. Yeah. I think you cannot split everything too much, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure there's going to be something like a 5 versus 5 mode again, and something with vehicles, probably like an 8 versus 8 second setting, or like maybe even 10 versus 10. We'll see. But
yeah, we have also so many.
You sound positive there, Johannes.
Yeah, I mean, the tools are there, but it really is in the hands of the communities and the players to decide in what direction they want to go with, and it's completely their choice. Let's see if anything comes from the official EA or DICE source. But at the same time, even if something would come officially, the community still has options to like play whatever they want to do. So, for example, there are still to this day people that play Battle 3 2v2 Bazaar Beef Leg or something like that. Something like very crazy, something very specific. You can do that in this new game. But to focus like the proper competitions, to get like the most attentions to it, you need to have one game mode that combines all.
I mean, you are still competing on Battlefield 4 just for fun, right?
Yeah,
and you're playing in a tournament right now.
Exactly. I'm still playing a tournament right now. It's also like an 8 versus 8. Started about like a year ago again. It's quite funny, like the history of Battlefield 4 specifically, because technically, like Vela said earlier, the support officially ended at the end of like 2015 with the last ESL 1 LAN finals, basically the official supported tournament. But afterwards, even like 2016, there was still a bunch of like random like ESL cups without necessarily like prize pool, or only like random cups with like small prize pools to win a mouse or something like that, to win like a couple of €100. Not a big deal. But then like through like Battle 1, the competitions basically switch to that side, then incursions, and now you could say a lot of players are back to playing Battle 4 again competitively.
And they're back to playing 8 versus 8 or 12 versus 12 and not 5 versus 5. Potentially.
I mean, some are.
Yeah.
Some still are like 5-5, but of course you cannot compare it with the scene we had back then. And there are only, I don't know, like maybe 10 teams at the most that are still playing, and none of them are taking it too serious, have like proper teams. It's more like basically like a mixed team, and they're just playing for fun.
Yeah, of course. But I suspect that the kind of skills required to play 8 versus 8 or 12 versus 12 are still not something you can really find on other games. While for 5 versus 5, we just left Battlefield. We just went on literally any first-person shooter that feels quite all right. So, we were not very faithful to Battlefield in our case.
Yeah, well, let's see who comes back, huh?
Yeah.
Would you be back, Relaaa? Would you be back, Damien?
No, I don't like. No, I don't think. I will already try to play the beta. I will try to maybe even stream the first weeks of after the release of the game. But I know that my brain will tell me to stop after a few weeks. Like I will burn out if I try to come back. I know
it's too much with work and everything, probably, right?
It's actually too much even by itself. Like I'm just too old to have my hectic gameplay or even any gameplay on the long run. I get headaches. Like when I was playing Battlefield 5, I was having a good stream. I was really happy. I felt like I was 18 again. Like, and then I went to bed and I had a huge headache for 4 days. So it's actually a migraine.
Not worth it. That's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not more not worth it.
I see. What about you, Johannes? I mean, you're still competing. Would you say, like, I mean, small tournaments or?
Yeah, I think it is a difference on what level you're actually like trying to compete. And since we all grew older from our time playing like basically like on a professional level, we have different obligations in life right now that we simply cannot put too much time into like video games. That doesn't only like go for us, but like probably like for hundreds of players that played during like Battlefield 2. They simply have like another life that they can't afford to put too much energy and like time simply into like running this new game, figuring stuff out and becoming the best. I mean, personally, I'll see, I'll try to compete and like try to build a scene. If not as player, I'm sure I'm gonna try to support them like from an admin perspective, or even something like from EA if possible. So I'll definitely be involved in one way or another.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, Damien, I think you stopped streaming, right? Like in May or something, right? But you said
what year?
or something.
That was a joke. I had not been streaming for 2 years, I think. So
2 years?
I think a few months ago I tweeted I stopped streaming or something like that. It was a joke because
you didn't even stream like for 2 years.
I wasn't streaming in the first place. Yeah, but yeah, I stopped streaming. I think in 2018.
Yeah, and I saw that's the same time you stopped with content creation as well, or on YouTube.
Yeah,
you stopped completely with everything, right?
Yeah. Content creation is a great, it's a big word for me, because like putting clips together and uploading them on my channel is not really what I will call content creation.
Come on, it is content creation. By the way, content creation, I want to know how important do you think like today? Okay, because I mean, you know how it is. Time is moving fast, especially in the internet. Thank you for the follow, guys, by the way. How important is today content creation, like such as YouTube, TikTok, etc., for competitive players?
If you have an answer, Johannes, I'm a boomer, so I don't know. I don't understand this word anymore.
I think it's very important, like content creation, like especially like on YouTube or Twitch. It doesn't really matter. It brings more eyes on like the game, basically, in the competition itself, or like high level players. So I know quite a lot of people that I play with like nowadays in Battlefield 4 and 8v8 that are saying they first got in touch with anything competitive by watching Wella's public highlights and like videos and being surprised. Oh, you can actually do this in this game. You can actually be this good, and they took that as motivation, like trying to grind and become better themselves. So especially like really like in the current age where like Twitch, for example, like in YouTube, is blowing up so much that it's a big factor of like trying to have the support and also like the viewership to anything competitive to simply get the eyes on it.
Yeah, actually, I would say if you have a healthy competitive scene, you can have players who are only focused on playing, like people that you never see on stream. They don't have a YouTube channel. They may have a Twitter, but you never see them playing directly. You see them only on the official competitions. And but there are many games on which the scene is not that healthy already. Like people don't have like a fixed salary, for example, and they are forced to do both, to be like public figures, to be on Twitch and YouTube, and at the same time to play the game at the highest level they can have. And this, I think, is a situation that can benefit some people because they are just good at speaking, at streaming and stuff, but some other can suffer because they need to do it and they don't enjoy streaming. And that's how I think you burn out and you really stop playing. So a game like CSGO, I think it's healthy because there are some people who are very, very good and you will never see them play. But for example, if you look at Overwatch at one point, at the start of the game, like if you weren't streaming and that you were not already in the very, very few top teams, your life was quite difficult. And I think Battlefield 4 was in this situation also towards the end. Like if you wanted to make a living out of it, you needed to think about being a public figure, which is in my case was not at all the case. I was an attention seeker, so I was just uploading my videos. It wasn't at all this kind of priority.
I was just thinking, like when you were playing like on live events, like the ESL tournaments and stuff, it probably, how do you say it? Like it was completely different than just playing at home, right? Like the situation is different, and you're more nervous and stuff like that. So maybe streaming is actually helping you to prepare for events like this, in a way. I don't know. No.
Not in my experience.
How was it? Explain how was it? Like how was it from your side? Like when you had your first big tournament outside of your room.
My first big tournament was Gamers Assembly 2014. I had everything to prove. I was a complete no-name. So we won. And that was like a mystical experience, really. I think it may sound sad, but it was in the top 10 best moments of my life. Like I was actually, after winning for 5 minutes, I felt like I could die. That was fine. My life was, I had achieved something. So that was a great experience. But like the feeling you have when you are during the LAN in front of the audience is actually not bad. It's like you have so much adrenaline and you are so focused that you forget that there are people in the room with you. But basically, since you have headphones, sometimes you have 2 headphones to really listen to your teammates. You just forget where you are, honestly. No, I've not felt like I was being watched by other people when I played. On Twitch though, when I was streaming, I was playing differently because I knew that I had to impress my audience. I had to look good, and that made me play in a very weird and sometimes ineffective way. But I've not encountered that situation in offline tournaments.
Interesting. How was it for you, Johannes?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely correct in my opinion too, because especially when you play on LAN and you play on something that really matters, you put all your focus on your
right?
screen and you blend everything out. So like even like with like noise canceling headsets, what we had back in the day, you could not hear the crowd at all, the audience. You could not focus on anything else other than the actual game and being like the best you could be. And of course, like streaming will be something where you also like have eyes on your gameplay, but it's a completely different side of things, basically.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed by streamers because some of them are able to be good players and to be relevant in what they are saying. They are able to do both at the same time.
And your entertainment, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it as well. Like Chicken, for example, I had him here in one of the interviews, and I'm watching him sometimes, and it's like, how does he do it? Like killing all these dudes and then looking to his chat and having these conversations. It's like,
yeah,
very impressive.
They often have. I mean, the best players I see when I was thinking about Valorant, but the best they usually have this chill personality, which I think allows them to be to focus, you know, their mental energy on the game, and at the same time to be enjoyable to watch, like Shroud, like Tens, like some of the best streamers I can think about, but you have many people on Valorant. They have a personality that doesn't require too much energy, so that may be an explanation.
Yeah, I think there's just like a certain point where it's important to have like a certain skill level, but at the same time, the personality to still attract basically viewers like for your personality alone. And if you on top of that can play well and you can show like really like insane gameplay, you instantly become like more likable, and people empathize with you more basically and invest in you more. If you're just like a normal person, you just like have fun playing a game, you can interact with people watching you, but it's like absolutely destroying the other team in a video game.
Yeah,
that is like the sweet spot.
My French is not good enough. You have to help me, Damien. I think it means something like, wait, let me try. I expect that you make a video with la traduction. I have no idea what that means. Was I good? Did I came so far?
Great. Perfect French.
Yeah, but what was the last word? I have no idea what the last word was.
I'm gonna connect on Twitch afterwards.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking him. Bloody. God damn it. What are you doing? What are you doing, Damien? What are you doing?
I'm currently trying to go on your Twitch. Okay, I'm there.
Are you not there? He's not even there.
No, I'm sorry.
What is he doing?
I don't have the thing anymore.
Got him. He doesn't have the thing anymore. It's okay, don't worry. Don't worry. I can copy paste.
Ah, j'espère que tu feras une vidéo avec la traduction.
Traduction?
Translation.
That sounds translation?
Hmm.
Translation. There was actually translation. The word was okay. Thank you. All right. Well, man, you didn't see all the love letters then, Wheeler. You didn't see anything, guys. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. All right. Where have we been? So you said like of your 10 favorite, actually, when you said it, I was like, I needed to ask again. You said like this was one of your 10 favorite moments in your gaming career. So let's talk about the other 9. Damien.
Well, it may sound sad, but it was not in my gaming career. It was in my whole life. Any activity included.
All right.
But yeah, for my gaming career, I think so that was the best moment. Like the moment where I went from a no-name to someone who actually proved he could do something offline. I think this is maybe one of the most important moments in the life of anyone who has in competition. You go from potential good player to, well, actual player. That was, as I said, mystical. Like it was 2 weeks, a boot camp and the competition, and I was during the whole. I've never been in a more focused state in my whole life. It was pure focus for 2 weeks, and so I think like just the top 2 would be. What would it be? I don't know. Like the rest is not really that good, actually. No, that was the only good moment in my gaming career, I think. I'm sorry.
Well, don't be sorry. I mean, at least you had one.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What about you, Johannes?
Yeah, I
Anything that
mean,
comes up?
yeah, for sure. Like those kind of like moments where you're like full of dopamine and like you're happy, like you won a tournament and stuff like that. And same goes for if you like play the first time on LAN and you're able to prove yourself from being like an onliner basically to being someone that is like a serious competitor that can actually like hang with the big guys, so to speak. That is like a turning point for everyone's like young like esports career or basically like in any kind of sport. The moment where you can prove yourself that you can hang with people that are like playing on a professional level, that is when you really become accepted in that kind of club, and you can be yeah, just like respected for like your own playstyle, for your own skill, and that's when you can continue on.
How long did it take you guys to, if you look back, like when you, because you said like it took you a long time to get actually to this professional level, right? What do you think? How long did it take you? Like, I mean, you probably had to start on one point to make the decision, I want to get good at that game, or was it more like it just happened?
I mean, for me, I had some experience like before Battlefield. I played some Counter-Strike Source back in the day, and then like Combat Arms. I was already like back then getting in the ESL scene, like try to play more competitive. Then Battle 4, I did not actually really like plan to go into that like professional or competitive like career at all. I just realized, okay, I'm becoming a lot better, and like public, like playing like normal casual became little bit boring, and I just like wanted more, and like I got into like the scene, like trying to play some BCTIW, some scrims, and then I see, hey, I actually really like that. I'm becoming good in that kind of stuff, and you could say like from the moment I started playing like in Battle 4 towards like the mid like summer 2014. Like a year later, I was playing on LAN at ESL1 Gamescom, for example.
Oh, wow. Okay. It was quick.
Yeah. I think I started Battlefield 3. You know, the thing is, I was playing a lot of video games, competitive video games as a kid already. Like I spent my whole teenage years playing a game called Soldier of Fortune 2. So I had some experience as a competitive player. And then I stopped completely playing all of these games because, well, I was finishing high school and I wanted to have a life. And when I started Battlefield 3, there was something magical which happened, is that my progression curve was very, very, very quick. Not because I was talented, but because I was just catching up on my previous level. And that, I think that went to my head because I felt like I was a genius, which I wasn't at all. I was just already experienced in video games, but I forgot about it. So I think that's what led me to competition, is that I wanted to check how far I could go with that feeling, you know, with that progression curve. I wanted the limit to it, and I found it very quickly. Actually, when I started competition, I dropped down to, you know, a very, very average player in Battlefield 3. So I think that's what led me to play, and then it was a different logic. It was just, you know, being good at competition, having reputation, well, having some attention. I think it's also a parameter, really. And then I met very interesting people with very interesting vision of the game, like Jika. Florian Drangzi was a bit later, and I basically wanted to be like them. It was they had an aura around them.
You said Drunken, right? Drunken,
yeah,
who's also working right now for
yeah. Okay. Yeah, Florian. It was much later
Florian.
than I actually spoke to Florian. Yeah.
Interesting. Damn, I had a question in my mind when you said that. If you look back now, I was just thinking, like in retrospective, would you tell anything your younger self, like what you could have done differently, like as a competitive player? Why are you laughing? Okay, why are you laughing? I want to know first why you're laughing.
I mean, it's a tough question for sure. I'd say like you could always like do something better, and if I would really go back in time, I could tell my younger self, hey, start earlier, like in Battle 4, for example. I started quite late. If you want to compare to like someone like Vela, for example, like a bunch of like the older guys that came over like from Battle 3, I would have like wanted to start like in like 2013, basically, when the scene first started in Battle 4. That would have been like the best time to get into it. But simply like the best advice I could give me: try really hard in Battlefield 4 times, and then don't play the game at all, because it wasn't really worth it to play Battlefield for the last, let's say, like 5 years, because there simply weren't any competitions. And I was always the guy who believed basically in DICE and in Battlefield and the competitive Battlefield scene. I still do, to be fair, and I still think it can be like a great esports title, even Battlefield. But at the same time, so many other people quit, and looking back to it, I put a lot of time in that I'm not getting back anymore, and I'm not sure if it was really worth it.
You regret it in a way, right? Kind of.
I don't regret. Yeah, I don't regret like the whole experience, but for example, the time I put into like playing Battlefield 4 Versus back in the day, I must have played like over 1,000 hours. And even though it was like super fun, like playing with friends and like simply learning and improving.
I was just thinking about like Breath of X, for example, you know, like back in the days when he didn't have the tools, even like a spectator mode, you know, and stuff like that. And they invented so much crazy stuff to make this competitive scene happen from the side of their, you know, spectator mode, so to speak. Like, it's crazy. And but do you regret it? I think it's hard to say. I mean, there were definitely moments probably in your life you say like, oh, that's amazing, like the ESL, but
that was the speech.
I mean, I gotta say, like, the people, especially that I met along the way, are the best about it. And so many friends. Like, for example, I went on holidays with someone like Hunter and Ethics, basically, like my former teammates as well together. We just went on a holiday in Barcelona, while I've not even like met Ethics, for example, in real life beforehand. But we've played so many matches online, basically together, like versus. We knew each other like for years beforehand, and those kind of like relationships, they stay with you always, and I'm still in contact.
What just happened here? Guys, we gotta wait here. We gotta wait off, I don't know, a lot of people.
A lot of like the BCL guys. So who won, NAFU or Legacy, huh?
Yeah, right. Guys, thank you so much for the big raid here. Thank you all. I think you're all the first time here. This is Gamerswecare. I'm Izzy, the host, and we have two amazing guys here from former competitive esports player here, Vendcera and Relaaa here. Guys, thank you so much all for joining. I hope you will enjoy the rest of the talk. You basically joined a little bit over the middle in here, so you still have something to see. Yeah. Oh, damn.
Yeah. I'm just like talking because I just finished the lower bracket final match, please. Like Legacy versus NAFU, and apparently like Legacy actually came back and won against NAFU. It's kind of unexpected because I thought like NAFU would be a little bit of the favorites, but like Legacy is also like one of the best teams, Brazilians. So we're gonna meet them in the final next week. Actually, I want this time.
You sound really excited. I mean, I still see this little kid in you smiling, so I'm not sure if you really regret anything. I mean, you wouldn't have been here. You wouldn't be playing if you wouldn't have done all the work before, you know? It's like, it's a way of life, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
It's funny that you're honest, you regret it.
I mean, like, regret is like a strong word, but I really could have used the time in a different way.
Absolutely agree. I mean, I regret it too. Like this was my first. This also was where I was laughing like 5 minutes ago because if I could speak to myself, what was it, 2011? I mean, basically when I started Battlefield 3, I would say, hey, just don't. You're gonna have some great times, but potentially you're gonna invest a lot of time in a career that will ultimately not be the one you want. I think I needed it though. I think I needed to have all this attention to prove to myself that I could be a correct player. But in the end, I think I would say to myself, just play Conquest Large, but don't play infantry. It's gonna go to your head and you're gonna end up on Battlefield 4 playing 8 hours a day and trying to do the Zuzu jump at every jump. So don't be that person.
Yeah, I think like what would be like the best way is what like a bunch of like other like old pros did, like especially like the Brazilians, especially like they just switched games to like Rainbow Six Siege, to Overwatch, to Paladins. Like in PUBG right now we have like noises, for example, like an Apex just signed by Invictus, Victor's Gaming. So a bunch of these like old Battlefield Pro players switched games around the time when they realized the game was dying and the scene was dying, and they were able to make a career in a completely different game and like hugely successful at that.
Yeah, I mean, the Brazilian guys, they did like the best decision they could take. I think they managed to foresee the potential of Rainbow Six, which was not easy to do at the time because Rainbow Six started very slow, and it was overshadowed by Overwatch at the time. So clearly, right now, Rainbow Six is the dominating game between Overwatch and Rainbow Six. It succeeded. The underdog managed to overtake Overwatch, no pun intended. But at the time, Overwatch was the real like grail for most people. I think the Fnatic guys on Battlefield 4, they went on Overwatch. Most of the players that I knew went on Overwatch, and this was a mid grinder, really. Like so many people were there, so many talented players from so many different games, and there were too many players and only a few selected spots in the big teams. And well, most of the stories that I've heard about were, well, people who said, "Hey, I give up. It's too complicated. Too many parameters. It doesn't like." Even if they were very, very good players individually, you had also the social network required to go in the big team. You couldn't always go with your teammates because it was a different system, more like NBA and stuff. So yeah, the Brazilian players definitely, they had a great story, and I really envy them and admire what they did. But many players also, well, didn't make it on Overwatch.
That's true. I mean, you always only see like the winners, basically, not the losers. And out of all pro players, there were a lot of that tried and failed in the end. But that's fine. Like, not everyone can be the best, and not everyone can succeed.
How many other games did you try competitively? Did you try Apex really, or anything else?
At the start, but I actually also like played PUBG like on a, you could say, like semi-competitive level in 2018. I played for like even like a Spanish organization here, Wizards, and we played in like a bunch of like the ESL like ESL Meisterschafts and Diamond divisions and that kind of stuff. But in the end, that fell apart, and I didn't really like put the time or like the energy in to pursue it even more. I had like some friends who really did become better. Like, for example, even like the German like G2 lineup later on, like Prexco and it's Chris, for example. There was definitely like chances, but I think like one of like the most important things to become like a pro player in any game is that you really like that game, that you can play it for like ends on. And if you're not able to play and like the game, you're never gonna be like the best in it. If you're just like in it for the money or something like that, no, you're gonna fail eventually.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I didn't really try other games. Like, okay, I tried on Overwatch though. With Florian, we had a semi-trolling team where we tried to be as good as possible to go in the official competitions, to be on stream, and to play in a stupid way. That was basically our motivation. And our name was The Other Team, because we wanted the streamers to not be able to say our name without confusing the whole audience. But that was my only like real competitive experience. Oh yeah, Battalion also. I don't know if you know the game. I tried a little bit, but the game died. So no, not a lot of stuff. But I think there is a specific difficulty at finding a new competitive game when you are already very used to a specific gameplay, because you're not like a blank sheet anymore. You have a lot of mechanical habits. You have a specific way of playing, and to transfer it to a new game sometimes can hurt, because you have to forget all your previous habits that may disturb the way you should play that new game.
Yeah, that's so true, and a very important point. So even like right now, like with new Battlefield, like many people might not be aware, it's like buried like one of the FAQs at the bottom. But like the new Battlefield will be basically built from the ground up. It's like a new engine level, so a lot of like the mechanics will work differently too. So people that are coming from, let's say, like Battlefield 5, switching over to Battlefield 2042, they might realize it will play a bit different. Of course, it's still going to be Battlefield, but getting used to all these different mechanics and the different play style is going to be like a huge challenge for everyone, adjusting to that. There can be people that are completely new to the Battlefield franchise who might perform better in a certain way because they can adjust easier.
Yeah, Brett just said like even casting is hard to transition, and I totally get that. I mean, like casting, you need to know the game to the core, and talking about it and be self-confident about it. By the way, I'm trying to turn off the alert box right now. Can somebody just follow, unfollow quick? Then I see if it works. No, wait. I didn't save. Sorry, shit. Okay, do it again. Thank you. I think now it's... Okay, nobody is allowed to follow.
Wow.
I don't know, guys. I can't, because it's too loud. They said because there were too many people jumping in here and they couldn't hear anything. Don't follow anymore. Nobody's allowed to follow. No, don't do it. Oh, damn it. Why do I hear it now from your end, by the way? I didn't hear it before. It's weird. I don't know. Guys, I can't fix it right now. It's too much for me. I want to focus on talking to these dudes. I hope you don't mind. Just don't fucking follow. Don't do it. Damn it, man. I can't turn it off. I have too many overlays and I don't know which one it is right now, to be honest. I just don't. I don't know how to turn it off. We just hope nobody's following right now. We just keep going and keep talking. Be nice to me. I don't have the problem normally.
About the transfer, I just remember that
yes,
I think
please.
Age is also a parameter. Like, I'm not sure what's going on in the brain. I have no experience on this topic, but pretty sure you have less ability to really learn game mechanics from scratch if you are older, really. Like on Overwatch was also a very humbling experience because you had people who were like 16 who were dominating. Legends on other games, and I'm speaking about, for example, Rafa was playing Overwatch, like a Quake legend, a Cooler also, which was like a Quake legend, and they like Cooler for sure ended up playing healer because he potentially was not used to these kind of specific mechanics, which were very different from Quake on many points, like the team-based mechanics. And so, yeah, I think you are less fresh and less able to really, remember that you have to use this spell exactly in this specific situation. You will be, I don't know, you have more thinking to do when you're older. You have to verbalize more what you need to do when you're older compared to when you're younger, and things just flow, I think.
Yeah, but I would say that's even like you could say like a human handicap in a certain way, because especially like young kids are much more comfortable, and it goes like way easier for them to like learn a new instrument, learn new language and stuff like that. That's why people like in schools like try to introduce like new languages even earlier and earlier, like even like in kindergarten. Some kids are learning English nowadays. So it is pretty similar to like game mechanics and trying to really get into like the details and really like deep into like how like certain game works. Of course, if you're older, it might be like a little bit harder for you to master it, all that kind of stuff. You're simply not picking it up that easy. But at the same time, in terms of like age, I kind of disagree on that sort, because I feel like the most important stuff is still the commitment, basically, that you can bring to the game. And especially what comes with older age is that you are simply obligated to have like kids, family, like a job, for example. You're simply not going to have as much time to grind when you're like maybe like 17, 18, like still in school or something. And you have so much more hours, so much more energy.
Also,
to put into it.
energy and the headspace. Like, I feel like, when you're getting older and you have like a job, you have kids around, you have so many more things to think about all over the day. Like, then focusing on a game, like really only on one thing in the game, is so much harder.
Yeah, all these obligations, and they distract you, basically. You can't put your complete 100% focus on that kind of game. And other like younger people will maybe take advantage of that. But at the same time, I feel like esports in the next coming years is reaching such like a high level where you could definitely see professionals like still playing into like the late 30s or something like that.
Yeah,
it has actually been proving that even though like your reaction time might decrease a little bit, your experience and especially like game sense is on such a higher level that you can definitely still hang with like the young boys. Maybe not necessarily as like the highest regular or like the most impact player, but especially as somebody like an in-game leader, for example, in games like CSGO.
Yeah, absolutely. CSGO is I think like I remember 10 years ago having this conversation with someone. We were like how old can you get before you start having reflexes which are just too low to be competitive against other players? And now, as you say, Johannes, on CSGO, we have many people who are over 30 and still competing in some of the best teams. They usually retire around this age, but they are still often above 30 people. I think someone mentioned Forest. In the chat, you also have, I think, people who are in a currently top team, which Forest is not, sadly for him. So I think, yeah, definitely there is a question of motivation that you lose with age. But I suspect that CSGO is a specific game in that regard, because experience in CSGO may have so much, maybe so important that being experienced as a player can compensate, can just overtake your low reflexes. In a game like Fortnite, if you watch the average age of professional players, it's insanely.
What's the average age on Fortnite?
I read it's something like 18, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, around that probably, yeah.
It's very low, and actually the best players are usually.
I thought it was even more younger.
Maybe
I was actually surprised you said 18. Do you think?
Yeah. Sorry.
No. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
So yeah, I think that again, like Fortnite, for example, that requires maybe different skills,
Like
maybe more
right?
intensity in the fights. May basically may require you to be younger.
It depends heavily on the game, though. Like, of course, like Fortnite is like one of those examples where it attracts like a younger player base, and you need to have like these like fast reactions and also like decision making, building, and that kind of stuff. While you compare it with even like a mobile kind of title, even though you still are relying on like certain like reactions and decision making, I feel like it is not as important as like in a game like Fortnite to make the difference. And there are so many different esports titles, and there might be like completely different ones in a couple years from now that we're gonna play. Even like the Battle Royale franchise came out pretty recently that changed the landscape completely. While in games like PUBG, as like the biggest, or at least during like the beginning of it, the biggest, you could win games like simply by playing smart, and you did not even have to kill someone necessarily. So that can really change too. And like for a game like Battlefield, I'm pretty sure you could like play even like in 40s, for example. I mean, even right now, I mean, it's kind of like a joke, but we have Kalsag in our team, our tanker, who might very well be like the best tanker in the world. He could have definitely battled against Aduzi in his prime, and he's also, I believe, like over 30 right now. There are no real limitations, I think, like in terms of age. It's really about like the obligations and the time that you can put in.
I mean, everyone is different also, right?
Yeah, of course. It's like still hugely personal. And of course, you can definitely understand if someone simply does not want to play like video games when you're 30. And you have to think about like kids alive and everything that comes after it. And you're simply like burned out from playing all this time too. There's so many different scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's the same thing in tennis. I don't know. We see Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic performing at ages which were usually not. I mean, like they are 34, almost 40 for Federer, and they are performing better than most of the younger players. I mean, not for Nadal and Federer these days, but they were like 2 years ago. So yeah, but in their case, I think everything is taken in charge. They are so rich, I guess, that they don't have to care so much about, or they don't have to work. I mean, outside of their main activity, which is tennis. So maybe that's why we see people perform at, older than before.
Yeah, that's a good example, and there are like different sports that you can compare it with too. Like chess, for example, of course, something like reaction time is not that important, but there are people, basically grandmasters and like the top players, that can be basically like 80 years old, and they can still hang with like the young people, even though there's like a generational like shift, especially like in the recent years, where more and more like younger people are coming up. And if you're like a chess prodigy, kind of similar in actually like in Formula One too. Just a couple of years ago, like the average age of like a Formula One driver was also like about like something like 30, I believe, even. And you really needed those kind of like reactions in Formula One. And right now, like in the recent years, it changed way more to like the younger side of things, and more like rookies are coming into the sport. that are starting their Formula One career was like 18 years old, and the average age drops too much. But there's still like numerous examples of different sports and different people being able to perform on the highest level, even like in older age, you could say.
Yeah.
I'm interested right now in, because I mean it's all about, like Lucky Bunny said as well, like it's also all about like and being energetic and hyper, and if you're younger you're more like this. When you had your best days in competing, okay? If you remember back, did you do anything else besides gaming to get this level of high competing? Like, did you do sports? I don't know, meditation or playing music, whatever it is. Was there anything else you did outside of the gaming world to improve your gaming skills?
Not on purpose. We were not. I don't know for you, Hannes, but I never had a coach like they have now in the big teams. So everything I was doing was basically luck. If it had an impact on video games, I did play tennis when I until 2014, and I think it made me a better player, because when I stopped tennis, so in 2015.
Tennis. You said tennis, right?
Tennis, sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay.
I think I dropped in level. Like I was less fit, and it made me, I don't know, I was less able to hold the pressure over long periods. So potentially it had an impact. You would need to talk to the actual coaches of Astralis and stuff, because they know exactly what's good for the players. But yeah, in my case, just tennis.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, it's pretty similar. I did not do anything specifically to like improve my gaming performance, but I definitely know that even like exercise can have like huge benefits for like your brain and your endurance, for example. Even so, in recent years, in like other like pro like esports titles, there are definitely fitness coaches, for example, and teams and players are being encouraged to go to the gym to improve their fitness level, to be healthy, to eat healthy, because it all plays a role.
I was just about to say, what else would you say is important to improve your skills, like eating healthy? I mean, we all know now there's energy food for your brain, right? So why not try? And okay, let me talk about something maybe a little bit. I hope nobody will kill me now in chat for doing that, but all we see right now is, players, get damn it, my brain. To drinking a lot of energy drinks and have get all these sponsorships by energy drink, companies. Do you think that's healthy? Like, I mean, long term?
You mean drinking them also? Or
yeah, I mean, also like advertising to drink a lot of them, like out of their minds. Yeah, I mean, I just can't, I'm not sure. I mean, young people are watching this, right? And like 15, 9, whatever. And I don't think it's healthy for them to start in a very young age to, drink a lot of energy drinks and stuff like that.
I fully agree. Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know for you, Johannes, but we were forced to put some companies on the table sometimes in terms of drinks, and they were not the kind of drinks we would have if we wanted to perform in video games. Unrelated, but I personally can't play correctly if I drink Red Bull, but it depends on people. Some people can. In my case, coffee focuses me. Red Bull makes me shake. Like my hands are sweaty. I can't aim anymore.
Same.
And yeah, and I also, so yeah, definitely I agree that these things are being advertised for doing things that they don't do.
I mean, I would say it depends like usually on the person individually. It's like about the caffeine, for example, specifically. Some like simply need caffeine, like even like a coffee in the morning to wake up. That's pretty normal nowadays. But in comparison, like for gamers, if you grind into like late in the night, yeah, exactly.
My coffee. I just made a coffee before the stream. I feel bad now.
Nah, it's all good. Like coffee, especially like it's different. It is basically accepted in society a lot more, even though it's still a drug. It's caffeine in the end. But if you take it as like a coffee form, like Red Bull, as a gamer, it doesn't really matter if you just need a pick-me-up, if you're playing until late in the night and you like want to grind like the next matchmaking games or whatever you want to do. There are so many people that like kind of need it at the same time. But also like nowadays there are so many more like supplements basically, and I believe like nootropics is the right word, where you can have like certain like kind of like supplements that are supposed to like help you stay more focused on gaming, improve like your gaming performance, and it is getting quite big, especially like with the
Of course, because the
like
market is
esports
so
rising.
big. And
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, it's not at all a bad thing. I'm just thinking, if you, especially if you watch now big streamers, how much and content creators, I think they all should be also take responsibility about the products they're actually, you know, standing for. And just because there is lots of young people and folks are watching that. And if everyone is just going for, I mean, representation stuff, I don't know how healthy that is. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not that healthy, but at the same time, it can, depending on the player, it can help your gaming performance. And talking about basically like the stream advertisements, it is kind of similar to like all the gambling advertisements that we had a couple years ago, and might still like on some kind of streams. Of course, that might not be ethical, but at the same time,
blood of your enemies. What do you mean, blood of your enemies, Kevin? Kevin Arier. I'm not sure what he means. I can't play when I'm hungry. I can't play when I'm hungry as well. So we have it. We have food. We talked about food. Let's switch the topics.
No, but
Yeah, I'm hungry. We are getting hungry here. Sorry, Damien. Yes, please.
I know that's like food is a sensitive topic, but I really wonder how many esports players who are sponsored by, for example, Red Bull, do drink Red Bull before matches. I think like maybe like the point is, Red Bull is advertised as something that will be good for anyone who just wants energy or performance in video games. But I personally, maybe it's just because I'm in a bubble and people I was speaking with were not fond of Red Bull, but all the like I'm saying like 90% of the best players I know were not drinking Red Bull. They were just, you know, putting that away and taking their coffee or taking nothing or taking, I don't know, maybe a different supplement, but not this kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's a sponsorship at the end of the day, and especially when you play on like an esports, like on pro player level, you might not have a choice to accept what kind of like sponsors like your team gets, for example, or like a tournament. And if there's like Red Bull standing like on the stage, you don't have to drink it or something like that, but it helps to improve like the tournament prize pool or like your own like salary on like a pro level. And that kind of stuff is needed. Like sponsorships and deals are happening all across like football. And
we live in a world where things are not white or black. But
that's true.
Let's say that when you are sponsored by a mouse company, you're forced to use their mouse. So you are in a way enacting by your performance that their mouse is not complete trash. Because if I get sponsored by Logitech, I will have to use the Logitech. They have good mouse. So I will perform properly. If you are sponsored by Red Bull, you don't have to drink the Red Bull. That's my that's the slight difference that I don't like in this kind of sponsors, is that you need to have the Red Bull next to you, while you don't have to have a mouse from Logitech next to you and play with a Razer, for example. You have to play with the mouse. So that's why I think it's a little bit tricky in the case of Red Bull and these kind of sponsorships.
Yeah, I understand. Also, in the end, because what you said before is like it's not like in esports you get paid a lot, you know, in many games, right? So you probably can be happy to have a sponsorships depending on what game and team you're playing with. Yeah, I totally get that. Let's see. Well, let me quick. I mean, we had so many questions in between, which I think was very interesting. Did you? I was wondering, like, when you were training sessions, we had the topic training sessions before. Were you specifically training your weaknesses, or were you just saying like, I'm just focusing on what I'm good at? Or were you also like, like you as a team captain, Johannes, were you like looking where your players were sometimes not good at, and then trying to get them to train these weaknesses, or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the best practice you can get is about like improving your mistakes, or like the things that you are not as good as like the other things. So it's important to identify like your issues and then target the specific things that you actually want to improve on. That can be pretty difficult to do depending on the game. So especially like in Battlefield, we cannot be like a football player, for example. Like football players are not really playing matches at all against like other teams. They practice like individually or like as a team, like their like own fitness and stuff like that. which you can still do. Like you can still improve like your individual level in Battlefield 2, but the way it has been done in most cases is simply playing PCWs, like practice clan wars, like scrims against other matches, against other teams, I mean. And therefore basically have like a scenario of like a match and like trying to play it out and see what you can do there and improve in that way. So it is very hard to target specific things that you want to improve on. I can bring up an example though. When we played incursions in the tank with the tank in 5.5, we specifically like wanted to improve, like also like playing without the tank, because some people were complaining that it was too strong and we were only like winning because of the tank. So I always like wanted to play like PCW, for example, without the tank at all, to see how we would do there. And even like an 8v8, what I'm currently playing in Battlefield 4, when you practice against like a lower level team, you can give yourself now a handicap. Like for example, let the enemy team cap all the flags and then like try to get out of spawn, get out of like that position, and how you would like practice specific scenarios that would happen in a match that would really benefit you. Like stonewalling, or just like simply like running over a team completely is not like the ideal practice, but it's very hard to really put like your most, or like to really get the most of your time and focus on specific things.
Yeah, I think that's the main problem, right? I mean, very often we are in these situations where you're like, ran over the other team and it's not really equal, right? And then it's getting boring. You don't know how to, well, train really, or do something.
Yeah, I agree that in Battlefield we were not especially equipped also to train our specific weaknesses in terms of skills, of mechanical skills. We didn't have all the all the tools that they may have in other games. But right now, these days, I feel like more and more players are developing a culture of using external tools to be better aimers, for example. I don't know if you follow all the Kovac aiming scene.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Aim-labs.
Let's talk about this
Aim-labs.
because I want to know more. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think it's like a really big change in the culture surrounding FPS games. I don't know if you know the guy called Aimer7. I think it's French. I think this guy single-handedly, I think, changed the way many people perceived video games. He was the first to really try to like abstract gaming situations from the game itself and to reproduce them on, to transfer them on Kovac. For example, you will have this specific situation when you are peeking and you have this mouse movement to do, and he would be able to say, hey, okay, on Kovac, this should be done that way. So you only train the specific situation. So the next time you encounter it in the game, you know how to react. And that was a very unusual thing to do until a few years ago. You would usually play the game, sometimes play deathmatch, but you would not verbalize, you would not theorize these micro situations. And he did that also with angles. I think he has like a whole article about what's the optimal way to position yourself compared to another player. He was trying to apply some. Well, it's actually, I think he has a PhD in physics, so he really tried to do it mathematically, and that's new. I'm not saying I fully agree with this vision, but that's really like a new phenomena. And before that, like people like old school players, like for example, Zaiwu is in this case, or Olaf Meister, also one of the best players of CS:GO at one time. They never play deathmatch. They never play anything but the actual matches. Like Zaiwu was actually warming up for his matches by playing pro league, not pro league, basically by going directly in a match, in a real match. He would not separate. They would not be training versus real match.
I think the whole point was he was never using training software, right? Like his aiming habits are formally purely from actual matches. Yeah. And he never from anything like training software, right?
Yeah, training software is a thing, but that's not so unusual on CS:GO. Many people don't use training softwares on CS:GO because it's not that.
Do you think that?
Based.
Yeah, but I was about actually to ask. Do you think that will be changing? Because I see it more and more often. Like I mean, like the Team EXO, for example. I think most of them are using that, right?
It is depending on the game, and for example, in CS:GO, you have like your own workshop maps. For example, you can have your own aim trainers in the game itself, and that's what people have been using up to the point where like all these like aim trainers came out in the first place. So you were able to have all these scenarios in the game itself, and because you have the combination of like, for example, like recoil control, like the spread, like like how the weapons shoot. You have all these different maps and scenarios that you can practice in the game specifically. That is quite different than like in CS:GO compared to like other games, but especially for games that do not have like an own actually like practice meta in the game, it is hugely beneficial to play something like an aim trainer, because like Vela explained earlier, you take specific scenarios out of the game, like flicking, for example, like tracking, you take them out, you put them in an aim trainer, and you can practice those in a much more efficient way. That's why you can get you can practice the same scenario like 100 times compared to if you would play like a normal match. And that kind of like focus and training like your muscles, your muscle memory and your mouse is insanely helpful, like for all gamers. And even like in CS:GO, I know that a bunch of them are using it. They take like a combination of it, of course. They play like aim trainers, they play like deathmatch against like other players, because like the movement, for example, is also like a big part, obviously. There are so many more factors, but to take out the specific aim element, it is insanely helpful to practice that in aim trainers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when it's done the right way, it's useful. You can also fuck up your aim if you do the wrong exercises, because you're gonna obtain habits which are the wrong one, and you're gonna actually like not even waste your time, but actually get habits which will parasite your actual gameplay when you play. So if it's done the right way, it's often optimal. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Do you think in Battlefield, like real training tools, like Battlefield internal training tools, are missing for competitive scene? If there were competitive scene?
I mean, they're missing because you could have those like kind of training tools in every single game. I think like Battalion, for example, also brought like an own like movement practice map or something where you can like practice like long jumps and that kind of stuff. Of course, it would be helpful in Battlefield 2 to have like a firing range that we did in like Battlefield 4, for example, also like in Battlefield 5, where you can like simply practice like your weapon recoil, you can try different stuff out, and of course like also like work on your aim. That will be definitely like beneficial to a bunch of players too. The question is if it's really gonna be worth the development time, and compared to like the players that will actually actively use it.
Yeah, since you have so many external softwares these days, if you don't really do a good practice range, it may not be worth the time, as you're saying.
No.
You both have only played on PC, is that right?
Yes.
Never had anything but a PC. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about Battlefield 2042 is now moving to crossplay, right?
Yes, exactly.
And let's say we will get a competitive scene, and we would get a competitive scene even. I mean, what will it open with crossplay? Would you be looking forward to see a crossplay competitive scene? What would be your do's and don'ts, basically? Like, where do you see the problems, but where do you see also the benefits?
Very honest, if you know, I've never ever thought about the crossplay.
Now's the time.
I mean, I can go first, and maybe you have like some more insights.
Sorry, man. That's good.
I mean, at first, definitely it will be like a huge improvement, like crossplay, especially like competitions will combine like all the viewerships, for example, all the player bases. So we can basically already like triple the number of players, not only like in public servers, but also like in the competitions. But the biggest problem is about like balancing it correctly to have like a fair gameplay between like PC players and like just like different platforms. There are like certain advantages that like all platforms can give you, and we can see, and especially like Apex Legends is a pretty good example how controller players can hang with like even like the best PC players. There is an extreme amount of aim assist in Apex, you gotta say honestly, but at the same time, the game is designed in a certain way that balances it out, that controller players, even like in terms of like movement, can definitely hang with PC players.
Did you tell me that? Who told me that? Giannis, you were that, right? You told me
we also
in
talked about
Apex?
it before. Yeah,
On
in Apex, for example, there are some players in like high competitions that are switching to controllers in close quarter fights because like the aim tracking is so much better that you can like even as like the best aimers in the world on a mouse with a PC cannot win against controller players in close quarters because like the aim assist is that strong.
So
Some
they're
players-
switching mid-match.
Yeah,
That's
some
crazy. When I
players
hear
are
that,
actually
that's like
switching. I know.
I,
And
know,
that they-
I like that. I don't know. I feel like it's, I don't know, that's the future of esports in a way. Like, I just want to know the first person who had this idea of, I'm going to switch mid-match. That's crazy.
There are a couple, and I believe like Nicevig was even like the first one in CLG back in the day in Apex who was like a pro controller player and who was able to hang with all the PC players. But it's just like the adjustments of like really like how do you tune aim assist the right way that it's not overpowered, but at the same time you still give controller players a chance. And there will always be advantages of like a mouse and keyboard, for example. But at the same time, to include the console players and the controller players, you need to give them some kind of help, basically.
Yeah, and as you say, like the person or the authority taking the decision of to which degree the aim assist should be tuned will always be in trouble because you have no objective way to really tune it. Like if you take the average performance of console players versus PC players, then you may have the question, should you really try to level out any potential difference between these two sides with aim assist, or should you leave an edge to PC players? I think it's you end up with very tricky questions and with one side being potentially disadvantaged over the other. So I'm not so sure that crossplay is the future.
The right way to go.
Yeah, I think Fortnite is doing that also, right? I heard that Fortnite is basically for the official competitions, you play whatever you want, and people end up often playing on with a mouse. I'm not sure. I just heard that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess especially like for like all the building stuff, mouse keyboard is advantage there. It is depending on each game, and I'm reading in the chat right now. Of course, like PC will always be basically like on the pinnacle in terms of like the esports competition because you simply have basically a much higher level of skill that you can transfer to the game simply because you're limited too much by the hardware, by the controller itself. You will never be as accurate with a controller than like a mouse and keyboard unless you have like some kind of like help or like assistance with that controller. I know like a lot of controller players also like in Battlefield are saying like they're playing without aim assist at all and they can definitely still aim and kill people no problem, and they would love to play against like PC players and show their skill. But at the same time, there are so many differences that, especially like on like esports on the top level, it's not only about like the controller itself, but also like in terms of like FPS. So in Apex, for example, all the pros are still playing with the PC, but then with the controller connected. So the difference is gonna be if there's gonna be even like more differences compared to like the Battlefield 2042 players that are playing on a console with a controller versus PC players or like basically controller players on a PC. There are so many more elements to it, and like once again, like fine-tuning of it and the mechanics. Let's see what we can all do in the new Battlefield, and there might be like certain like movement tricks or certain things that might be advantageous for like one side versus the other, and like balancing that all, and especially in a competition setting, will be hugely difficult. So I'm really looking forward how the developers are solving that problem though, because a lot of people are either saying I would have like a crossplay always disabled. I don't want that kind of stuff. And the next important.
But this also is because of the cheating problem.
Exactly. That's just what I wanted to say.
Right.
The next important will be like the cheaters, and console players have an advantage in a way that most cheats are developed for PC.
Difficult. What? What
no,
did I
I
miss?
was just kidding about the fact that indeed PC players are. I mean, the cheaters are on PC.
Oh, okay. On a 1 to 10 scale, do you think they get the cheating under control in Battlefield 2042?
Can you define under control?
Well, if you compare it to Battlefield 5, let's make it easy.
I'll say 1. I mean, basically, I don't have any clues about what they are doing with the anti-cheats or anything. I don't have any internal information, but what I know is that the more you go, the more, like, basically hackers are getting better at hacking. This is just how it goes, and it's getting much more complicated to find ways to counter them. I think. I don't personally think there is I've not personally been in a situation where I was harassed by hackers or anything. Really, I've not witnessed myself the hacking, like the cheating epidemic that many people are talking about. But yeah, I think I think like hackers are winning the war a little bit these days, though. I don't know.
I mean, there's another point to I'm pretty sure Johannes can't say anything about my question. He's kind of I can't talk.
I can say some kind of stuff. Like, of course, like
say
in
some kind of
internal,
stuff. Say some kind of stuff.
Some stuff. There will always be a battle between like cheaters and hackers, and especially like the developers against like the anti-cheat developers. That will be like a battle that will continue like in the next couple of years. And there's some kind of games like Valorant that are trying to circumvent that with like kernel level access, that are really like trying to put much more emphasis on that kind of like anti-cheat and doing everything they can to stop that. But in the end of the day, unfortunately, you will never be like fully able to stop it. There will always be some kind of like tricks, and it's always like a cat and mouse game. Like the cheat developers.
Yeah, but isn't the main problem
that
that they stole the base game, basically, the hackers? Isn't that the main issue right now, or am I wrong?
Are you talking about like the data leak, basically?
The engine thing?
Yeah. There's been some kind of code stolen, basically. Yes, that is true. But at the same time...
the base code. Yeah, the base code of Battlefield 2042.
It is...
no, Missy.
I think Johannes is annoyed. He had this conversation many times.
No, like I kind of, but at the same time, I simply cannot talk much about it, and there's simply not much public information about that at all. Yes, there has been a hack, that is true, but at the same time, I wouldn't worry too much that it's really gonna affect like all the games, and there's so much more like clickbaiting articles being written. Oh my god, there's gonna be cheats already, like a new Battlefield confirmed, all that kind of stuff. What I can say is that, of course, it's important for DICE, and I'm sure, like a personal opinion, I'm sure they're learning from like the experience with Battlefield 5, that they're putting more emphasis on countering cheaters. It will always be a problem, and for like every game developer, they will realize that, and I'm sure they're gonna do the very best to basically bring more functions to bringing cheaters to justice, or like stopping them in the first place.
Okay, here's another thing, because I saw it in chat and I heard that before a lot. Like, there's always the option now we have portals, so we can get rid of cheaters if we have them on our servers. How do you...
Yep.
Okay, I see the point, but I see also the point that we are so used of calling everyone who's a good player a cheater. Like, if I would see Damien play, I would assume he's a cheater just because he's crazy good at this game. Okay? So, and this is what people like to do. Like, they like to make, you know, because they're losing to somebody who's better, they say, like, you a cheater. So don't you see their problem as good players as you are, that we find ourselves in these private servers on Portal and we get like banned for just being good?
That is a very big issue, of course, and especially like Battlefield 4 players can tell so many stories about bad admins that are getting kicked for like really stupid reasons, simply being too good, or like it's like in certain like noob server, you have plugins in Battlefield 4 that you cannot join a server if you have like a KD over like 1 even. So in Portal, admins will definitely have like the last say who can play on the server and who cannot. That is something that each like server owner can decide. But at the same time, it's only very specific for like their own server. And at the moment, it's only confirmed that you can only host 1 server per player. You don't actually need to own Battlefield 2042, to be fair, to create like a Portal server. But at the same time, currently, it's only designed that you can only host like 1 server. And you can only have like 1 ban list on that. So, of course, you have to control it. You have the power to ban players for whatever reason you want. But at the same time, this is limited to Portal in a sense. where like all the public like Battlefield 2042 servers are not affected by it, and there will definitely be ways to play this game without being kicked from every server you join.
Yeah, I agree that big ban lists are useful, and at the same time they can have terrible consequences for good players because they are banned by someone who is angry and they end up being banned on a server where the admin is actually good. But I think no matter the game, no matter, well, any parameter, if the community is, I mean, I think someone just said in the chat actually, if the player base is large, you can get banned by anyone. It's fine because you will still find a place on which to play where they support skilled players. He said in the chat, and I think on Battlefield 4 right now, if you play, you have basically. I tried to play like 2 months ago, and I had a week of of fun. Then I had no servers anymore on which to play, and it wasn't the case like 6 years ago because I will always find that server on which people were really good and they were encouraged to be on this server. I mean, I'm actually exaggerating. I had a few servers like this still on Battlefield 4, but I wasn't good enough to actually have fun because I wasn't public stumping anymore. But just that's something you have to accept also. Like if you get banned from some servers in a legitimate way, which is that these servers are here for players to learn the game, that's fine. Then you have to accept to play against people who are also good at the game, and you won't also really enjoy it, or you won't have this ego trip you may have against bad players. So yeah, I'm not really afraid of all the powers given to admins. I'm just afraid about the size of the community.
Yeah, but with the bigger size, especially including crossplay, there will be even more servers, even more players, and I'm pretty sure this game will be supported in that way for like a couple years to come. So you can definitely always find different servers to play on, and there's not gonna be like a universal like kind of like ban list with like plugins that are common in Battle 4 that are banning you like straight out because like you have like a certain like high KPM weapon or something like that. There will definitely like be options to play, and I'm pretty sure DICE is aware of the problem that they don't want to limit good players or players that are playing in a specific way to prohibit them in some kind of form. Like everyone has a place and everyone can create their own experience, quite literally. And if you're not happy with like some server rules, you can create your own server. And there will definitely be servers that like focus on gathering more towards like competitive players or like simply higher skilled players.
They got you.
A couple of years. I only said a couple of years. I didn't specify.
Does Battlefield 2042 needs a battle royale to be successful as a game? You're smiling again. I love it. Every time you're smiling that way.
I mean, I can answer like that. The battle royale scene has been.
I'm not asking if it's coming. I'm just saying, do you think it needs to be coming so it can be successful?
Yeah, I'll get to that. Because like the battle royale scene has been quite popular, and especially like through PUBG, a lot of different kind of games like try to pick it up. Like most notably in EA, of course, like Apex Legends. But at the same time, we had a battle royale game called Firestorm and Battlefield 5, and they really like tried to implement that, even though it didn't really work out in the end, and there were some kind of like problems with it, undeniable. They didn't even like end up fixing like looting system, for example. Battle Royale, in my opinion, can definitely really like work for Battlefield. I said that back when like Firestorm was announced, because compared to like PUBG, Battlefield has experience with having like so many players on like large scale maps to play all together. You have all these like different weapons. You have attachments in Battlefield 4, for example. Like Battle Royale system makes sense for Battlefield, in my opinion. If it's really needed though, that is the question. And there's quite a lot of more content coming, of course, with Battlefield 2042 and like during like the life cycle. And especially like also like with Portal, you can build your own game mods. So maybe someone is gonna be able to build a Battle Royale mode themselves, no problem.
Well, so far what we know, we can't, right? But yeah.
Let's see. I mean, with like all the options to build your own game mode, possible. It's just I personally don't think that you can quite get it right on a level like some like PUBG, like it's proper like Battle Royale mode, because you still have like the underlying game modes that you need to base it on. And what we also like talked about earlier, that you cannot actually adjust the map at all in Battlefield 2042. You have like no map editor. You can adjust the game mode in certain ways, and there will definitely be more options to introduce like feedback, to like ripple effect. The former DICE LA studio that is working on Portal, if the community wants specific features, if the community wants a Battle Royale mode or the options to build one, they can give that feedback, and there's a pretty good chance that the developers will actually get it into the game. So
sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting. What do you think, Damien? Did you even try to play Battle Royale in any way on any game and enjoy it?
No, I don't especially.
I was thinking about like you never played it really, right?
I'm leaving this to the person who enjoy Battle Royale. Like I have a very old school perception of video games, which is that when you're good, you're supposed to win. And Battle Royales have a much more long-term relationship to winning. If you do everything right, you may still lose. Basically, you have more variance. It's like poker, not like poker exactly, but you have something that's a bit closer to poker than to traditional 5 versus 5 competitive games. If you watch top players on Battle Royale, of course they have a win rate which is pretty high, but they may do everything right. They will still get killed by some guy in the bush. It happens. Maybe not on Fortnite, but on PUBG it happened. On Battlefield Firestorm it happened. So I tend to be very frustrated in Battle Royales because I'm not in control enough to have fun. But I agree with you, Johannes, about the fact that if there is a Battle Royale, the next game, that could work, especially since, if I understood correctly, the size of the maps are bigger. So
much bigger.
And you signed like 128 players already, so you could definitely make Battle Royale work too.
Okay. This was not public information, Johannes, by the way. You just...
Nice try. Of course it is.
We are trying to get more out of here.
Yeah.
I think we need drinks. We need moonshine.
Yeah. Some alcohol.
Oh, some alcohol.
Then I might spill some secrets.
Give him the
That is
drugs.
the plan. But yeah, like to comment on Damien's thoughts process right here, I completely agree in that sense, and I had the same base like mindset before like PUBG came out, or like before I was like playing it myself. I thought like the randomness factor alone is playing such a big difference that this game can never really be competitive, because so much stuff, like so much random stuff, can completely like turn a game around. And even though like you might be like the absolute best player in a match, you can very well lose, and that doesn't really function with being competitive.
Right.
But the big thing about that, which changes it all, is playing multiple games. And by playing something like the PL League, that Aduzi, by the way, got second, something, the PL season 2. Or I believe he even won one. I'm not sure. But the point is, they played about like 190 games, I believe, like in total about like many weeks. And because you play, I mean, it doesn't have to be that many. You can simply play, let's say, like 20 games, 20 matches. And because you increase the size, it is not so much about like the randomness factor anymore. It's about consistency. It's about being like the consistent team in the best position to like win games, to place high, and get the most kills. And if you do that on a consistent basic, you have a much more even like competitive baseline. In like usual esports matches, like no matter if it's like Battlefield, LoL, Dota, CSGO, whatever, there can be upsets where like a lower level team will win against a favorite. That can definitely happen. But if you would have them play like 20 times against each other, the favorite will basically 99% of the time will always win if you put like more matches basically in that kind of in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, event repetition is, I think, the core of a healthy competitive scene. If you have enough repetition of the important events of the game, you will see the best players win at the end. And yeah, as you said, BO1 on any game is a terrible experience, I think, even on CSGO or any game on which you have like a close level between two teams and on which the variance is still there on some levels. Should not have BO1, and we have sadly we resort to this because sometimes there is not enough money or not enough time. But they on PUBG they managed to do something that I didn't think was possible either, Johannes, as you said, which was to have many like multiple matches played in a row.
Yeah, I mean that's the way it has to go with like battle royales and Apex, and like I believe like pretty sure like every battle royale is doing it the same way, that you simply need a certain number of games as a minimum, as a baseline, to declare a winner. Because yeah, you can have like a game where you get unlucky and you go at last place, but then if you come back the next couple of matches and you perform well, you win, you like place very, very high, that might still make you the overall winner, and that is important. Yeah. Like the more matches you play, the higher the chances are that the favorite is gonna win.
There was one question in the chat. I don't even know for you, Johannes, if you can answer it or you want to answer it, from General Moose. What happened with the Battlefield 5 competitive mode, 5 versus 5 competitive mode?
That's a good question. Yeah. Of course, like the development of Battlefield 5, there were quite some issues that it got delayed, and they had some struggles that, like not talking about like cheaters alone, but the maps, for example, stuff being delayed, and the community like simply weren't really happy about the state of the game, while there were still a bunch of developers focused on creating a competitive 5v5 game mode. And like DICE actually put like a lot of resources into it, especially like since the end of like Battle 1 incursions, where they basically scrapped all the resources for incursions and moved to Battle 5 to work on that kind of game. But the state Battle 5 as a like base game was in, the leadership team like simply decided we can't really afford to put much more emphasis on developing a 5v5 mode, while our core community was screaming like for other changes and for like other problems in Battle 5. So in the end, they made the decision to scrap it and at least like used the maps. What was it, like Lofoten Island and what was the other like
Provence?
one? Provence, exactly. Yeah.
Provence.
That they implemented those as like free maps for all players.
I knew that.
I mean, maybe you can speak some more about that too. I mean, you might have some insider information too about Battlefield 5.
I think it's like really NDA. Like I don't want to say stuff that I'm not supposed to say. Like this is I was involved a little bit, not directly, but by speaking with a lot of people who were working on that. So I don't want to use their words in a context that they haven't agreed to. But basically, I have to. Yeah, it's basically that. Yeah.
It's sad, but unfortunately, I gotta agree. It's kind of understandable that they went that decision, and even though they stopped the development and like patches of Battlefield 5 pretty early on, you can in turn see them putting more emphasis on making sure this game, Battlefield 2042, will be even better and will have more time to develop. And in the end, we will see if that was worth it.
But they need to continue the live service this time as well, I think, right? Like they need to go full in. Like if something is not working out, they need to stick and give it a chance and do something. Like, for example, bringing a Battle Royale like on Battlefield 5 Firestorm and then never bringing any patches for it. I don't think the core community would stick with that game if they do it again, right? Do you think they bring a live service this time and continue bringing it? I mean, they will bring a live service, yeah, but I mean, do you think they will go through with it this time, like fully, and go full in and all in?
I mean, of course, I believe that, but in the end of the day, I can't really answer that, and I guess like no one really can at the moment. It really depends how the game will do, and how the community will see it in terms of like the resources at EA and DICE and the leadership decisions. They make those kind of calls.
Yeah. I'm getting tired. My questions are not getting better right now. Guys, I really think we are about to hit the end. I really just can't focus anymore. If you guys have any questions in the chat, I'm always give like a 10 to 15 minute limit warning here. So this is my warning. You have to bring your questions now. Also, bloody do me a favor and put their links again in the chat. What is next for Relaaa Vendcera? Well, you said you will switch, Johannes. You will switch your name, right? You will switch a little bit and work on your profile, right?
What on my profile?
It's a big change for you, Johannes.
Big change. Big change. The big life change.
I mean, let's see. Maybe some people will not be familiar with that guy like Vendcera killing them in Battlefield 2042, and they will complain. And then I will have to educate them. Hey, I'm actually that guy. You might have played against each other a couple of years ago. Let's see.
Let's see. Let's see. All right. What about you, Damien?
I don't know. I'm getting tired too. I'm glad you're getting tired. So I was about to take a coffee, and I remember that Johannes will not be happy because I will be giving a bad example of using coffees.
Water.
Yeah, it's water. Yeah.
I would get one too, but my problem is I really need to go to the toilet. So it's like, do I need to go to get a coffee and go to the toilet and leave my guests here by themselves? That is not very nice. So
Tough decisions. Yeah.
tough decisions. I just stay here.
For the future, I really don't know. Like, I hope I have the time and the mental energy to play a bit of Battlefield 2042. And if I do, that would be like only a few weeks. Hopefully I can stream if my computer allows it, because that's also a big question for me. Can I play this game without buying a new computer, which I would like not to do? And for the rest, I don't know. I think I'm doing a PhD, so I should accept it and not try to go back to my old, my old habits.
It's nice. I mean, let's see what the time and the games and everything will come and give us, right?
Yeah. And I will not be changing my name, by the way. So I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Surprise.
I mean, you have so many different like nicknames that you came up with all the time. So technically,
Oh yeah,
you're
that's
like
true.
you're actually like the one person who always changes names.
I've not played Battlefield 4 with my real name for like 5 years. For real.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go.
So question is, how many accounts do you have?
One.
He's always
I mean,
changing his name.
Two.
And you can
I
just
have-
change PC. I don't know how it works on PC, but on PlayStation you need to make different accounts. So
No. You can just change as much as you want and put anything.
I didn't
want.
even know that. Okay, stupid question. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
That's
You should see some of his nicknames.
PlayStation player question.
Yeah.
I feel we could talk about so much more stuff, and I feel I feel we just scratched a little bit, even though we talked like for 2 or 3 hours now. It's crazy, but I really enjoyed the talk. I hope you guys in the chat enjoyed it as well, and we could give you some insights tonight. Maybe Relaaa, yeah, bloody very. Did I miss any questions now? I feel like, was there any question left?
Some for Relaaa, actually, yeah.
Does Relaaa regret that he made Zuzu Jump public?
Best decision of my life. No, for real, I think the Zuzu Jump created a little bit of drama around the infantry gameplay. It created a bit of interest around the infantry gameplay. And I would say the amount of suffering it inflicted to anyone playing Lurkers these days is compensated by the new players it introduced to this kind of gameplay and to infantry gameplay on Battlefield 4 in general. So yeah, I don't regret it. I think it was a good decision. Like I was saying at the very start of this video, any new mechanic introduced about a Battlefield 4 infantry, I think was a good thing, because we were a little bit too limited. So I think it was a good thing, especially since now people are doing stuff like the Vuzu. I mean, it went crazy, I must say. People are doing weird jumps now. But the Zuzu jump, I don't regret it.
I mean, we discussed and we talked about that so many times over the years. I remember like even like the original video, I talked to you about it, and you like even commented on it. In my opinion, I kind of disagree in that way, that it's not good to make like game breaking stuff public. Of course, like you try to make the game developers aware like what kind of problem it is. But I agree with you in the sense that like certain like game mechanics and especially like movement mechanics and new ways to play the game are always like helpful. And even like the Zuzu jump, or like the mechanic of like jump peaking itself, in my opinion, it's great. Like similar to like the slide in Battle 1, if you remember, even though it was quite a topic basically in the community, and the community was quite split about how overpowered the slide was, like similar to the jump. It is still a great mechanic that is switching up the gameplay in different ways, how you can peek and how you can, basically either like get to cover, or you can aggressively like try and peek and play and kill someone. So yeah.
Yeah, it may be pure luck, but I saw a surge of popularity around infantry gameplay in 2015, I think it was obviously linked to the new game mode that we had for 5 vs 5, which was obliteration and much better than domination. But I think it was among the parameters which drew a little bit more attention on 5 vs 5 gameplay in 2015, and which gave Battlefield 4 the potential to grow well, bigger than it actually did.
Yeah.
Are you, I mean, we will see on Battlefield 2042 probably more like a movement from Battlefield 5, right? Now in retrospective, do you prefer the Battlefield 4 movement to Battlefield 5 or the other way around? Or what did you like from this or that? I have to ask now. I know, I'm sorry guys, I said we will reach the end, but I was curious now because we were talking about movement and stuff.
I mean,
This
it's a
is
good
live.
question for sure. Like once again, like Battlefield 2042 will be something new in that sense. So it will not be straight up comparable to like any like other previous Battlefield title. And we've only like really seen like officially like the movement out of like the trailers, where like even like Slide has been confirmed in, I believe, like the Irish trailer or something like that, the showcase. So a mechanic like that will be in the game. But in terms of what I would really prefer, like Battle 4 movement compared to Battle 5, I haven't played that much Battle 5, I gotta say, so I might be a little bit biased, but I would still say like Battle 4 movement, even though it had its downsides, would probably be more favorable, but at the same time, yeah, it's gonna be something new, and we will all have to adapt, no matter if you come from like Battle 5, Battle 1, Battle 4, or like even back from Battle 3.
Yeah, Battlefield 4 all the way. Airstrafe was so enjoyable in Battlefield 4. Airstrafe and the lack of friction when you landed were really doing it for me. I just felt free. I just felt like I could meet someone. Even if the guy wasn't aiming too well, I could just jump, do a right-left movement and not die. Of course, you may say, hey, that's not very balanced for new players, but from my point of view, as an experienced player, definitely Battlefield 4.
Yeah, I can actually add on one thing. Because of like Portal and the opportunity to play with the Battlefield Bad Community 2 settings, there will also be like an option in the basically game settings where you can enable Bad Community 2 movement. That includes, for example, not being able to go prone and not airstrafing at all. So it will be quite different. This is like a game that came out, what, like 11 years ago? And most players are completely used to airstrafing nowadays and being able to change your movement on the fly while you're in the jump. And Bad Community 2, as soon as you jump in a direction, you can't do anything. You're literally stuck and you cannot change your direction at all.
Oh.
So it will be very interesting to see if the community or like the players will go back and try this kind of setting and the movement style, and if they will like it or if they will basically hate it in that sense. And nostalgia is a very, very strong drug in that sense.
Well, also habit, you know, and what you're used to and what you're used to like to. That's very interesting. Yeah, but that's it, I think. I'm sorry, I can't focus anymore. I don't know if we have to call it a night. I'm so sorry, guys. I hope really, guys, you all enjoyed it. If anyone now wants to follow us, by the way, you can do it now. I officially allow us to follow us now. So Gamerswecare, by the way, is a non-profit gaming channel here. We are doing this podcast to build up deep conversations here and give everyone the chance to have deeper talks and listen to each other more. And we're also doing charity events and hopefully lots of gaming events coming in the future, also on Battlefield 2042. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy what we are doing. Lots of amazing people here. It's not only me. No, we have lots of people in the background actually helping, also content creators. So yeah, stay safe all, stay healthy. Have fun gaming. Enjoy life. All right. So who are we waiting? Who are we sharing the love with? Do you want to say something to the end? For the end? Johannes, Damien, is there anything you want to give the people in the end? Like, I mean,
we had a very nice talk, and I appreciate the invite and being able to talk about like the Battlefield history, like the esports side of things. And yeah, let's see what's coming up with Battlefield 2042. Soon TM, and yeah, have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, same as Johannes. Like, it's really nice to have an audience about these topics, which are sometimes very, I don't know, elitist topics, or I don't know. It's really nice to see so many people interested in that and to see the same faces over and over again. I feel like our community has resisted to time. Like it's been what, 7 years or 6 years, and
yeah, depending who you ask, there are so many players out of so many different Battlefield areas that are still playing or coming back to it again.
It's really nice. It's yeah, it's emotional, I would even say.
It is, right? I mean, the community is still, in a way, it's small, right? I mean, everyone knows everyone, I feel, very often, especially when it comes down to the community we see on social media. It feels like family. I actually had a couple of questions about the community, but we are not starting that. I think we need, if you don't mind, if you ever want to, we probably have to do a second podcast about that, because there is, I think, lots of stuff we can still talk about. But let's see what Battlefield 2042 is bringing, right? Oh wait, Broken Machine. Well, what thoughts on maxing FOE? Overdone, unnecessary? Now you're coming forward with questions. You see, that's what I'm saying.
It clearly depends on the game. If you're speaking Battlefield 4, I would say it's like the max level in Battlefield 4 to me is too high. But having a high field of view in Battlefield 4 is a good thing, because it's a game that's more, it's less aim based. You don't need to be very, very accurate like you were on Battlefield 3, where the field of view is anyway fixed when you're zooming in. I think the field of view is 70 when you're zooming in. And on Battlefield 4, I think my personal opinion is that the optimal way to do is to have a high field of view, so you don't see the small movements of your weapon when you're shooting, and you don't need to see them anyway, because the game is not accuracy based compared to Battlefield 3. On other games like Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, I think the same logic kind of applies. A little bit less on Battlefield 5, where, in my opinion, still a low field of view, at least when you're ADSing, is pretty efficient, because Battlefield 5 has slightly different gunplay, and being accurate is a little bit more important than it.
What field of view did you have in Battlefield 5? Sorry, Damien. What did you have?
Pretty low field of view, I think. I don't remember exactly, but I had a pretty, I was actually pretty low sense and pretty low field of view. Yeah. I wouldn't remember the numbers though.
No, it's okay. But I mean, that's still a hint. So.
Like in my opinion, to add onto that, it really depends heavily like on the game that you're playing, under the game mode. So in theory, of course, like a high FOV would give you the highest advantage of like simply seeing more and being able to react to things much easier. You also have like a different perspective, for like you're running faster and you simply do stuff much faster. But the trade-off like an accuracy might not be worth it. So I can give you an example. When I was like playing Domination, I also like played with like a relatively like high FOV, I believe like 100 or something. But once we switched to like squad observation in Battle 4, where it was like more like a linear kind of play style, where you had your specific gunfights and you usually like knew where your enemies were coming from, I actually turned down my FOV to like 85 or like 84 at the moment.
Yeah.
Or like even I believe it's like 69, and then like horizontal it's like 84, you know, like how you have that setting in Battle 4. So it's really low. It depends on your own personal playstyle in the end of the day, and how you can really focus on what is important for you. If you want to favor accuracy, and if that's like you kind of like playstyle, you're more like an anchor player, that might be more beneficial for you. But if you're someone that is like jumping into the action, that needs to like flick around, turn around, then like a higher FOV will obviously be more useful.
Yeah, and you have to take sensitivity into account. Some very, very high sense players like to have slightly lower field of views because they can't manage to do it with very, very high field of views. Like one of the best Battlefield 4 player, in my opinion, who was called 9XT, was like, his sense was like 10 centimeters for a completer, maybe even less. And he was playing with a field of view that was not that high. It was pretty low. And apparently it helped him to keep the accuracy with such a very high sensitivity. So yeah, I think that's another parameter on the top of which you can add your field of view. He became a Warzone streamer, by the way. He's a huge one now.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now I was just I thought like when you were playing like on console, for example, on Battlefield 5, everyone was telling you, you know, go max, it helps you with your aim and everything. but I also met like one player specifically. I don't know if Helmut is still here, but Dummy here, and he played with a FOE of 80 or something. And you know, everyone else was doing the opposite, but he was crushing it. You know, he was maybe as good as you, Wheeler. I don't know, but he was really good. So I just was thinking, in the end, maybe everyone has to find their own thing also.
It's
I'm not
definitely
sure.
personal, and at the same time, like I said, it's a trade-off between like different things, and what you want to focus on is important. To bring like another example of like CS:GO, for example, there you still have players that are playing with like 4:3 resolution that are literally like cutting their not only like the FOV but literally like what they see, they're cutting the sides of it and are playing with black bars. Only because they can focus more, they're playing like stretch resolution, so the models appear bigger and stuff like that. So it really depends like your play style and what you really like want to focus on. Because if you have like a lower FOV, it might be much easier for you to see stuff, basically, to notice small things. You might see like a small shadow that you otherwise would not see with like a higher FOV.
Yeah,
There's so many things to it.
Yeah, there was a big debate. I think it's in 2013 when CS:GO was released not long ago about what's the best field of view. Now that you could go 16:9 on CS:GO, many people were starting to say, hey, you have more field of view. So technically, it's just placebo to think that 4:3 is better. You just see more in 16:9, so you have more information, so it's better. And well, history didn't really confirm that. Like the best players, many best top players kept and still play in 4:3.
Even to this day,
Yeah. So yeah, it's not as simple as optimal. Sometimes to know what's optimal, you actually need to see how people really play the game.
Very interesting. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. Super interesting insights here.
Yeah, really fun to talk about all that kind of stuff. We don't really have these opportunities to like have like a wider audience and to discuss like certain topics, basically. And yeah, like Damien earlier said, the Battlefield and especially like competitive community is pretty like tight knit and pretty exclusive in a sense. So we don't like necessarily like reveal our secrets, so to speak, often. So it's a good opportunity for sure, and might get some people aware. And yeah, let's see what will be possible in Battlefield 2042 in the end.
Yeah.
Volker Machine said, wasn't a what do you recommend question. Notice that many players these days. Wait, can't read it. Players these days max it out, particularly on Battlefield 5, seeing more nearby, but missing out and not seeing players moves ahead and making bad plays. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, yeah, okay. Whereas as
there's a trade-off.
Seasoned pros keep it pretty low.
Yeah, for Battlefield 5, at least I think it's important, especially since, well, visibility on Battlefield 5 is not exactly the same as Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4 with the 3D spot as before. So yeah, it makes sense to me.
Maybe in the end, it's also a thing that, I mean, we all get conditioned by the videos and the people we are watching and following, right? You know?
Of course, yeah.
One
In
person
the end of the
is-
day, you might copy like certain settings, or you might see someone play very, very well with like a certain resolution or like FOV. You try to copy that, and basically, what a lot of people did was like Relaaa himself too. Like in Battlefield 4, there are still players that are like trying to copy his playstyle and even like sensitivity to because I think that might make them a good player too. It all plays a part, but in the end of the day, it is really like a personal choice, and no one can really tell you what is best or what is better. Like all things have like certain advantages and disadvantages to them. And if you can play good on like a high or low FOV, that's on you. That's personal. It doesn't mean that the next person will be the same for them.
That's part of the fun. Yeah.
I was just thinking about like this Zen thing. Like I'm a photographer in real life, right? And if you want to make a career as a photographer, everyone is telling you find your own style and stick with it and make it really good, right? So maybe that's the same with gaming. Like find your own style, stick with it, and make it really good, and not try I don't know.
We have this, I guess, this maybe the same relationship to other players' gameplay. So we try to, I mean, depending on what you want to do, but if you want to be recognized as a streamer, you have to find maybe something specific. You have to see how other players are playing, and you, at least in my case, I wondered, how can I change that? How can I challenge that? How can I do something that maybe is not optimal, but is different and manages to do the job in a different way? And I think like also competitive players who are really serious also wonder all the time, how can I basically break the meta? How can I play something that no one is playing and just surprise people with this new gameplay? You have that on many games. You have a video, I think, even on like a Smash Bros. Melee, you have a guy who completely changed the meta of the game by playing a character that no one was playing. And in FPS games, it's less obvious, but you have that also with some players who just started playing the game in a very different way. Like Stewie 2K and CSGO, he started going through all the smokes in a very aggressive manner. And it works. And it works for you because you get some reputation. And it works in terms of efficiency because you surprise the other players and you win matches, hopefully.
I'm sorry. I need water. That's super, super interesting. So, is there anything else anyone wants to say?
Any more questions?
Any more questions? I mean, could take a break of 5 minutes. Everyone gets a coffee. I get to pee. And we take another 10, 15 minutes or something. Yeah, sparkling water. I'm sorry, I'm German. We drink sparkling water. At least I do.
It's the best.
It's best.
I'm also fighting for recognition of sparkling water in France.
Why did Relaaa play on lower resolutions? Okay, I need to pee now.
I think basically two things. Basically, bad PC at the start, and then I got used to it, and I thought, okay, when I'm going on higher resolutions, I'm not good as before. So there is no big thinking behind it. What I did on Battlefield 3 though was to copy paste GK's gameplay, and GK was playing in 800 by 600, I think, which is very low, and it made your game look different, but you could still see the important parts, that is enemies. So you had, I guess, less mental load. You could just focus on the important parts. Now it's not true anymore. Like the meta with most video games currently are high resolutions, so I don't think that it matters anymore.
Yeah, what I heard back in the day, also like from Chica, because I talked to him about that too, and Battle 4 specifically, and Hunter, that Battle 4 would be more designed for consoles and more optimized for like basically like a console, like 720p resolution, that kind of stuff. So that's why even a lot of like Battle 4 competitive players back in the day still played with not like full HD resolution, but like 1600 by 900. What was it, like 1376 by 768 resolution or something like that. So there were quite some variances, but usually you would play with lower resolution, and especially when you were playing domination, like infantry-focused game mode, where you did not have to see much details at all. You could really get that advantages and like a little bit better performance over better looks.
Yeah, and another parameter that people tend to forget, and which makes me realize I'm really old, is that at one point we played low resolution because of the screens we were using. We were not using LCD screens like we are right now. We are using cathodic, I don't know the name in English, but cathodic screens in French, where, you know, the big screens,
yeah, exactly,
not flat ones. And the lower the resolution you were going, the higher the refresh rate. You basically, if you went to 800 by 600, you could have a higher resolution, higher refresh rate. Sorry,
high hertz,
CRT. Sorry,
CRT. Yeah,
I was using one of them. Was the last guy I saw use one.
Yeah, it's actually quite funny because like in the very like early days, everyone was still like using CRT monitors, which had like a higher hertz like refresh frequency. Then like for a couple of years we switched to like LCD monitors, and it like came out new like flat screens, basically so much newer, must be so much better. But in the end of the day, we kind of like went back to like preferring like the higher increases or like refresh rate in terms of like hertz. And I could have definitely imagined that some people would have stuck with like playing CRT simply because like the refresh rate, because especially like when all the like LCD monitors came out, I'm pretty sure it was like 60 at the most.
Yeah, it was 60, and the response time was 5 milliseconds, I think, at best. So sometimes 10 milliseconds. And of course, the CRT had basically 0 millisecond refresh rate. It's not the same technology, so it was much better. And I think they really needed to invest a lot of money in the gaming current gaming screens to, force some players to make a change. And now the question is not there anymore because it's going up to 300 hertz. So yeah.
But it took basically like 10 years to be here again.
Yeah. It's like for the keyboards. Anyway, that's going to be too long, I think.
Yeah, we could talk about so much stuff. Like,
I was just thinking, like, my next question would be like, what about VR? Have you ever thought about playing shooter games? Like futuristic?
There's even an esports VR shooter game in real life where people like go pro in real life. Is like we had VR headsets on to like shoot below a truck and stuff like that. It's super funny to watch. It exists.
I would throw up. To be honest, I think I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
But it's also great exercise, if you have like to physically go crouch and you need to pro all the time, stand up super fast, like only like the fit people can really be the best.
Yeah, but think about somebody is here giving you the knife, killing you with a knife. Like, I would scream.
It's scary.
It's super scary. Also, like, is it even healthy? Like, wouldn't people go like nuts doing this? Like, I don't know. Isn't it too intense, for your mind? Okay, sorry. I really started now something big.
It's still an infant's shoes, basically. And to say it easy, we will see in the future. It might be something that we will all play in like 20 years from now on. But
yeah. Potentially.
Teabagging behind lookup.
Teabagging in VR, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually afraid of that. Like, we spent all this time being good with a mouse or a controller, and then we have to switch to just shooting at people directly in the face with a real weapon. I would actually feel like I developed skills for nothing.
That's weird. That's crazy.
Yeah, but technology changes. You never know what even input devices we might use in even a decade from now.
Yeah, we'll be like, saying to our kids, back in my time, we were using a mouse.
Yeah, right.
What is a mouse?
We're getting fucked by Marines then. Then we know how important it is to play tennis. Stay healthy and fit. Right?
Sure.
Exactly, yeah. You need to hit the grenades, it's like a tennis.
Yeah, right. Damn, skills would be so different then, definitely. I don't know. All right, guys, I'm so sorry, but we really will hit the end now. I don't know. Maybe we do it another time. Thank you so much all for being here. Thank you so much, really. You guys were amazing in the chat, and we had a big fucking wait here as well. 2 waits actually. Thank you so much for the wait. Also, all the new guys here. I hope you really enjoyed it. Thank you for staying with us and for being so active in the chat. It's always a pleasure to see these conversations here. And yeah, guys, see you all in Battlefield 2042, I guess. Maybe we see you as well for a couple of streams and games. I don't know. And who will we wait now? Who's now? Do you guys have anyone to suggest here in the chat? Otherwise, I will take a look who's right now live. I can't even talk anymore.
Let's see like some Battlefield streamers.